Hey, shh. Calm down. The show is about to start. Reese on the radio. Turn it up. Turn it up loud. Turn it up loud.
It's like a dream come true.
Turn on your radio. Reese is on the radio.
Yo, let's get it.
Due to the nature of this program, discretion does not exist. It's Reese on the radio. Right now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
It's Monday. And what's going on, all you scallywags and nutmakers out there? You know what time it is. It's Reese on the radio. With all the news and all the views that fit the spit. Right here on WTIC News Talk 1080. Welcome to your Monday evening as you guys start to wrap up your day. I hope it's been a bountiful Monday for you. I know the weekend's over. A lot of you dread getting back to the office. I don't feel for you because I'm excited to get back to the office. So, nonetheless, this is where work gets done. The work day, the work week, all that good stuff. And we got plenty of news and plenty of views for you today. If you were sitting in that office wondering what's going on in the world, Reese on the radio is here for you. I do have an announcement today, and I'm hoping that you can be a part of this announcement. And it will be on August 19th and August 20th. And it involves the Chester Boat Basin and the Selden Cove on August 19th and 20th. We'll talk about it all show. I'll keep reiterating it all week. August 19th and 20th at the Chester Boat Basin and the Selden Cove. We'll talk about that, so stand by, tell your friends. This is going to be an important thing that we are going to do if you do end up joining me. We also have to talk about something that apparently ticked a lot of people off when I posted it. Every Sunday, I do another article in my Substack, and I try to keep it local, unless it's a national story that people in Connecticut and New England care about, but I try to keep it local. Even though I know there are people all over the country, if I showed you the sort of the geography of folks who listen to the show online, you'd be amazed. But I try to keep it local so that you guys feel that you are represented in an honest way. That being said, I do this article on my Substack, which thankfully and graciously I accepted. The Connecticut Sentinel will put in its online newspaper every week. And this was about something I talked about over the weekend or last week. And that was Ned Lamont flexing about the expansion of the Friendly Hand Food Bank in Torrington. And I called it an odd flex. I suggested it was like, being at the ribbon cutting for an expanding homeless shelter. These are not things that a governor brags about, but there he was. And I wrote this article only to point out that with this info, celebrating hunger, that the governor sits on a 63% approval rating. And I pulled that quote from the article and put it on the header of my Facebook post, and the hell if you guys didn't go nuts about it. We'll talk about it. Because I'm going to tell you why that poll number is the way that it is. And I've been talking about it for a month now. The governor has a 63% approval rating for good reason. And people are thinking that they're saying, that's not accurate. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because the governor's doing exactly what they want him to do. But I'll get into that. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I also want to prove again that your humble host, Reese on the radio, was right again. I was forced to have a conversation with you about Jeffrey Epstein. How come he won't talk about it? And I was the one who told you on this very program, you are being conditioned to believe that this is a story. It is a manufactured issue. I brought it up on July 17th. I gave you evidence that it was bogus, but you didn't believe me. You still wanted to talk about it. So we did. And it turns out, in trying to appeal to the naysayers, to the people who think that they've got their finger on the pulse, it turns out old Reese on the radio was right again. But I got to get to everybody's top story today. And that top story was, of course, the President of the United States saying, I'm done with the violence of D.C. Sick and tired of people in D.C. being shot at, robbed, beaten. I'm sick and tired of the city looking like a hellscape. And said enough is enough. The fact that President Trump looked at the District of Columbia and said, if we got dignitaries who are coming into town and they see this ruin, why would they ever want to come here? And I don't blame them. I want to go back a little bit. As you all know, born and raised, New York, Hollis, Queens. And I was into politics early as a child. Loved politics since I was 10 years old. And when I was 13, maybe 12, I want to say 12, had to be 12. 7th grade, right? That would be right? Okay. Anyway, it's 1983. Right? Yeah, 1983. And we go on a trip to Washington, D.C. And on that trip, we were supposed to go into the Capitol building. And we didn't get a chance because when we were going over some bridge to New York, we ended up hitting a fish truck. It was a whole mess. And we were there for so long, it ruined our trip. But we still got to go to Washington, D.C. and see all the, the sights. We just didn't get to go to the Capitol. And I want to go there more than anything. But we didn't get to go. And that was sad. But there was one thing that I remembered. I was on that bus saying, we're going to the nation's capital. We're going to see the White House, the Capitol, the Washington Monument. We were going to see the Lincoln Memorial, all of it. And we drive down the road, Pennsylvania Avenue, coming straight ahead towards the White House as the bus was going to careen sort of around the White House to look at it. And as we're coming down Pennsylvania Avenue towards the White House, I looked out the window and I saw a homeless Rastafarian. I'll never forget it. Dirty, filthy. It was the homelessness that I experienced in my own neighborhood. It was a homelessness that everybody in my town was familiar with. It was everywhere. But I thought Washington, D.C. was like the Emerald City. There's no homelessness there. There's no violence there. That place is paved in gold, I thought. Naive 12, 13-year-old I was. But nonetheless, there he was, sitting there. And as I careened down the block in my school bus, more and more people disheveled, begging for money as we got closer to the White House. And I remember saying to my German English teacher, yes, she was German, she still had a German accent, she teaches English, oxymoron, I didn't get it. Anyway, I say to her, are we in D.C.? And she said, yes, we are. And all I could say was, what the hell is he doing here? What are they doing here? This is Washington, D.C. There should be no vagrants here. Homeless people? Bums? What are they doing here? And a friend of mine said, man, this is D.C. It's one of the biggest ghettos in the country. What? What I said? I promised myself I would never go back. I could never go back to that city. Then, of course, I moved to Northern Virginia. That's another long story. It involves an ex-wife, but I don't want to get into that. But let me move on to my next trip to D.C. Many, many moons later, old enough to know better. Went into D.C., Union Station, I should say. And the hell that I saw there as I looked at all these great ivory towers, the Supreme Court building, the Capitol, of course, the Ronald Reagan building. I looked at a new building that was just constructed for law enforcement. These places were beautiful, but right across the street, a homeless shelter. And again, me in my 40s going, what the hell is that? That's right across the street from the newly built law enforcement building. How's there a homeless shelter, right? What is going on? And I went, wow, I would be bitter too if I lived in this city. If I saw all of that opulence, those ivory towers and buildings all over the place, and I was living in squalor. Who's allowing this? Oh, you know who. Your usual suspects. Democrats. Oh, they did nothing to save that city. They made it worse for everyone. As they do. You can't arrest anyone because, they're poor, they're black, and it would just be cruel. Communities are just awful. They gentrify a little bit of it, but then they just push everybody else to the outskirts because they can't afford it. The affordability in Washington, D.C. is through the roof. So you just push them out to the outskirts. You almost push them to Maryland. It's pretty bad. By the way, don't go there. It's pretty bad. And now, the current president of the United States, who's seen that squalor, that has seen that decay, who has seen the leadership over and over and over again go into the hands of one Democrat after the other. And there are no improvements. More and more people die. More and more people shot. The offenders getting younger and younger and younger. And they implement things like no cash bail and probation. All of those things just contribute to more and more squalor, more and more violence, more and more unrest. And now what do all of these foolish idiots go out there and do? They protest the president trying to save their lives, trying to make their quality of life better. He's the bigot. He's the racist. He is the tyrant. While all of these people sleep on the floor, hide their kids in the bathtub, worry about whether or not their children are going to come home safely, they're screaming at the president of the United States who's trying to ensure that those kids get home safe. That's what they're doing. They're rioting in the street right now, protesting in the street. Free D.C. From what? From the violence? From the mayhem? From Democrat rule? Free it from what? You want to free it from the guy who's trying to save lives. Oh, that's great. And folks, I wish this was new to me. I wish I looked at this and said, damn, this makes no sense to me. But I've experienced it before. 1992, Rudolph Giuliani. That's exactly what they did when Rudolph Giuliani changed New York. Started stop and frisk. Had the broken windows policies. Went through neighborhoods with police on foot, stopping violent crime from happening, saving the lives of black folks who called him a bigot and a racist for doing it. Now they beg for Giuliani. They beg for a Giuliani-like leader. Chicago does too. Everywhere you look, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for somebody to come in and save them. In fact, it almost sounds like they're begging for racism. Please, please, can we elect a bigot? Please, can we get a racist mofo to be our mayor so they can stop the violence so my kids can wait at a bus stop without having to be drive-by shot? Please. What's David Duke up to? Yeah. Outside of the protesters, that's what every single one of those residents are begging for. And here comes Donald Trump taking over. These fools are angry. Janine Pirro spoke today.
I see too much violent crime being committed by young punks who think that they can get together in gangs and crews and beat the hell out of you or anyone else. They don't care where they are. They can be in DuPont Circle, but they know that we can't touch them. Why? Because the laws are weak. I can't touch you if you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old and you have a gun. I convict someone of shooting another person with an illegal gun on a public bus in the chest, intent to kill. I convict him. And you know what the judge gives him? Probation. Says you should go to college. We need to go after the D.C. Council and their absurd laws. We need to get rid of this concept of, a no cash bail. We need to recognize that the people who matter are the law-abiding citizens. And it starts today. But it's not going to end today because the president is going to do everything we need to do to make sure that these emboldened criminals understand we see you, we're watching you, and we're going to change the law to catch you. They go to family court, and they get to do yoga and arts and crafts. Enough. It changes today.
And when Janine Pirro said that, people forgot. The law-abiding citizens she's talking about are black folks, too. But these activists and these people on the talking heads on television, they believe that these criminals are black folks one and the same. They think that's a rite of passage. If you're in D.C. and you're black, they got to commit crimes. It's the ghetto. What else are they going to do? And they're the bigots. We come back. We'll take your phone calls. We'll talk a little bit more about this when we return. We'll talk about how they tried to bait Muriel Bowser into shaming the president into about what he's doing. We'll get her response as well. Stand by. More news, more views than you can shake a stick at. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
This is Governor Ned Lamont. I'm giving a salute to the broadcaster at 100. Happy birthday, WTIC News Talk 1080.
Hey, 63% approval and counting. You heard that. That's Governor Lamont there. We'll get into that breakdown a little bit because some people are.
I had to get him on your station one time,
exactly,
on your show one time.
Exactly. You had to get him on there somehow because he wouldn't come freely. We actually had to get him on recording. We'll talk about that 63%. And a lot of people are upset about. People are like, they didn't poll me. Trust me, they weren't looking to. But we'll talk about it as well. Also get to your phone calls in a sec. So, of course, everybody is having a conniption about Donald Trump taking over the federal government, or the federal government for that matter, taking over in D.C. And I was going to play Eddie Glad from MSNBC, but he has a tendency to curse on the air. So I can't I can't play him. So this was was it NBC affiliate in Washington, D.C.? This is what they got a few morons to say about this in D.C. This is what they're upset about.
They have in mind.
You talking about the crime. The crime is when you let the people out that done messed up January the 6th.
That's right. That's what's plaguing D.C. crime. A riot 4 years ago. That's the calamity that is D.C.
He's acting out of spite. I don't know what for. I feel like he has something to prove.
Yeah, he has something to prove. Like, I'm here to save you, Negroes. That's what he's trying to prove. I'm trying to prove that I don't want you to die a senseless death at the hands of a 14-year-old gangbanger. That's what I'm trying to prove. Oh, and then there's my favorite. By the way, it doesn't matter what age, it doesn't matter what century, it doesn't matter what generation or what civil rightser has ever been a part of any time in our history. It's always about more government.
I think it's important that we uplift those children and focus on why this is happening. You know, maybe we need to implement more programs. Maybe Trump needs to implement more programs and focus on that in this shit.
Yeah, implement more programs. I've got the perfect program for them. School, we offer it to you for free. Huh? Yeah. Jobs, offered everywhere for free. You don't have to pay for a job. Job pays you. Huh? There's a whole bunch of programs, as they were, to keep you off the street and keep you from killing each other. Programs. I got an actual program, a government program that works, keeping killers, murderers, gangbangers, drug dealers off the street. That program is called a prison. That's a program. We can use that. 860-522-WTIC. Let's go to Steve in Springfield. Hello, Steve.
Hi, Reese. Yeah, I'll tell you, you're a breath of fresh air, and you've got a lot of good, interesting perspectives.
Thank you.
You know, because after a while, there's a lot going on in the news, but a lot of it is, like, predictable. And
sure.
You know, I come here to get, like, a breath of fresh air.
Thank you.
I'll tell you something about a program that works.
Yeah.
When I went to school, it doesn't really matter what neighborhood it was. Criminals weren't in the schools. They were in reform school.
Yes, they were.
What's wrong with that?
It's a good point. Now, Steve, I don't know if you're much of a movie guy or would have even seen this film, but it was based upon a true story. The film was called Lean on Me, and it was about Jersey principal Joe Clark. Does that ring a bell at all?
No, I must have glossed it.
Okay, no. But it starred Morgan Freeman and Robert Guillaume. And
he's a good actor.
Yeah, exactly. And it was based upon the real life of Smokin' Joe Clark, is what they called him. He was a school principal in the inner city of Elizabeth, New Jersey. And what was so evident about his tactic was that a black man was getting the same pushback that you were seeing here that he did in the school system. He got rid of the riffraff in his school. On his first day as the principal, he rounded up all the thugs and expelled them to save the good students.
You want to hear an interesting story? I used to write. I don't know if you know people in Springfield. I don't know if you know Sam Bass.
No, not familiar.
Well, anyway, he had a little paper called The Bottom Line and stuff like that. Well, there was a guy, Leroy Crenshaw, in Springfield.
Mm-hmm.
He was an African-American man. He was a gym teacher at Kennedy High School. And he was complaining to the principals that these kids are bringing weapons to school, brass knuckles with razor blades on it and stuff. So, you know what? He was a big guy. He was a strong guy, a Southern guy. I mean, what he did is he confiscated their weapons. Nobody in the school was listening to him. So, you know what he did?
He took it upon himself.
Yeah, he dumped it on the pretty little table when they were filming the cable for at the school committee meeting. He just dumped it all on the table.
Wow.
And what are you guys going to do about it?
See, that's the kind of stuff. That is the kind of stuff that needs to be done instead of this coddling and breastfeeding of these obvious, violent criminals, which, again, as you can hear.
That guy was a real man. He was like one of these people. He was like Jimmy Carter. If you're his next door neighbor, he's going to help you fix your car. He's going to help take care of your mother when she's sick.
Yeah.
He was a real neighborly. Jimmy Carter was the same way. Best next door neighbor you could have.
Even
though I disagreed
right.
with Jimmy Carter's policy, You try to attack his character, I'm going after you.
Well, I've never gone after him. His policies were horrible. But you're right. He was a hometown boy. He always was, and he always defended his neighbors. That much I can stand by.
Right. But I'll tell you something. I guess the Democrat Party is like pro-murder, like the Nazis. Who are they calling anybody a Nazi?
I think that, again, this is, and it's like they don't know. It's like a blind rage, Steve. It's like Donald Trump is for it, so they are like reflexively against it, not even realizing what they're truly saying, and that is we want people to live in danger. And that's essentially what they're saying. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Let me go to Ralph in South Carolina. How we doing, Ralphie boy?
Reese, how you doing? Been a while. I thought maybe you forgot about me.
No, I didn't forget about you, buddy.
A couple things, Reese. Did your buddy Tim ever send you a copy of his blood work to verify that he's 60% a Native American?
I didn't ask, but no.
Oh well, I think you may want to ask and have him prove it. As I said before, I'm the kind of person in Missouri. You got to show me. But let me ask you a question, Reese. If a 14-year-old kills you and a 34-year-old kills you, are you any less dead?
Exactly. I think you're 100% right. Look, I say this all the time when we talk about crime, but Giuliani had it right. Whatever you think of him today, Giuliani had it right. I grew up in the Giuliani era, and kids who were my age, I was around 23, 24 in the Giuliani era. Everybody in my neighborhood who was from the inner city, and I knew plenty who lived in the inner city and lived in Manhattan, all said the same thing about Giuliani. Giuliani was ruthless. Some of them thought that he was cruel even, but they were afraid to death to do anything criminal because they were under the impression that even an infraction of drinking a beer in the street would have gotten him 20 years. That's how afraid of him they were. And it was never like that. He just believed in a quality of life police force. And that's what he ensured. He made life safe for everybody. And if the opposite side of that is you'd have to be cheering for the people who made it uncomfortable or dangerous for you to live.
Well, of course, but if you look at what they give these kids, there was I guess there were 4 or 5 young girls. These are girls.
Yeah.
Between the ages of 12 and 15, murdered a disabled man.
Indeed. Yes.
Beat the heck out of this guy and killed him. And the biggest sentence was 7 years in juvenile home.
Yep.
That was the sentence for the worst sentence for these 5 girls.
I'm going to find a story. You know what?
Never coming back.
I'm going to find a story during the commercial break that will blow your mind. I talked about this on my podcast back in the days. A story that's very relative to that. But the victims in this case will blow your mind. I'm going to find that video in a minute. Thank you, Ralph. I appreciate you, sir. Yeah. The amount of crime that we're seeing from young black girls is unheard of. And it's true. Have you seen some of the violence that's caught on camera? On buses? Wasn't there a situation at Rutgers where 3 girls said that they were that somebody was racially mean to them or spewed racial slurs, and that's why they got into a fight? And then the video on the bus found out that it was the girls who started the fight, who started just randomly punching people in the face on the bus. The amount of violence that's going on in D.C. with young girls, young black girls, is it is absolutely shocking. Shocking to see. But, that's where we are. When we come back, I'll give you another update on this thing that we're going to be doing. You'll get an opportunity to do it with me. Put this in your calendar, August 19th and 20th. I will probably make sure that I will be at both of these. I'm going to be at the Chester Basin and the Selden Cove in Connecticut on August 19th and 20th. If you don't know what this is about, I'm going to tell you very soon. So stand by. So make those dates available, August 19th and the 20th. And I know people have work. I get it. But if you don't have work, maybe you're a retiree, maybe you can take off that day. Don't worry, it's what the libs call good trouble. The 19th and the 20th. I found something to do, and I think it's something we can all be a part of. The Chesterboat Basin and the Selden Cove, August 19th and 20th. If we don't make it to both, we'll definitely make it to one, and I'll break down what's happening there and why we need to be there. So stand by for that. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. More news, more views, your phone calls, and so much more. It's Reese on the Radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Listen to WTIC News Talk 1080 on the free Odyssey app. Download and like WTIC today for alerts on special programming.
I want to address a comment in the chat room before we get to the phones. Donald writes, Reese, how about gun control? Why is the poor community flooded with illegal guns? Those two things are not the same. Gun control does not affect illegal gun ownership at all. Gun control controls legal gun ownership. That's how that works. You tell a legal gun owner that he can't have a particular gun and possession of it is illegal, and the legal gun owner gets rid of said gun. Illegal gun owner already violated gun control law. That's how that works. You can have all the gun control you want. A person breaking the law will ignore them. That's how they work. A gun control law, by the way, punishes the person with the gun, doesn't prevent the gun ownership, legal or illegal. Doesn't prevent it. You are punished by gun control laws. We need to understand, and it's something I've been trying to explain to, I hate to use the word, ignorant folks. And ignorant does not mean, it's not a slur. It is ignorant of the law. Laws do not stop crime. They punish them. Get the nonsense that a law prevents crime. If that were the case, murder, assault, anything for that matter just wouldn't exist. All we have to do is create a law and then it stops. It's not how it works. Never worked like that. You know it. Use your logical brain. Laws are designed to punish crime, not prevent them. Please repeat that a dozen times so you can stop looking at the world from that point of view. If that were the case, D.C., which has the strictest of the strictest gun laws in the country, New York, Chicago, Indianapolis, Los Angeles, Sacramento, San Francisco, all strict gun laws. Yet, violent, gun-toting knuckleheads are shooting all over the place who don't have licenses to carry, concealed or otherwise. All of them have gun control laws. Background checks, sure. I'm positive they have all of them. Yet, thugs still run around with guns. How's your law working? How's your gun control working? It's called not working. So please, stop looking for an answer in a law that is made to punish criminality. That's not how it works. And once you get that through your thick skull, then you can move on to where we are, solving the problem. And that's locking up those offenders for a very long time. No 3 years. No 3 years. They're putting lives in jeopardy. Let's make a mandatory 10 years and see where that'll get them. Let's go to Tony. How are you doing, Tony?
Hi, Reese. How are you?
Pretty good. What's up?
Hey, how come we don't kick Russia out of the Olympics?
That's a great question. More than likely because we don't control them. We are not the governing body of the Olympics.
Well, we're a pretty big part of governing world.
That's true. I mean, I agree with you. There are a lot of countries that, it's almost like asking, why are some countries allowed to be a part of the UN delegation where some of the leaders are part of, dictatorships? Like, why are they allowed in the UN delegation? And that's because, just like gun laws, the UN is not exactly what it says it is. You know what I mean? It's not a peacekeeping organization.
Good point. Hey, I met somebody who's a sponsor on your show and who went to dinner with you in San Antonio.
Yes, Jerry, of course. What are you?
Jerry,
I love Jerry. I love his family too. We had such a great time with them.
Great people, great products.
Absolutely. Yep, that's why they're a sponsor on this show. I love supporting them because they support our listeners. So that much love to them.
Goes, where'd you get the certificate? I said, CIC. He goes, what show? I says, Reese on the radio. He goes, I got to talk about him.
He's the greatest, man. I love them.
He showed me a picture of you guys, and I, like before, I don't know, you heard me before on the radio. What I like about radios, we don't know
what you look like.
You could be a 500-pound singer.
Did you see the picture of me next to my wife? Do I look like a giant?
You're pretty big, Reese.
Next to her, I look really... Every time I take a picture with her, I go, gosh, you're so little. Poor baby. Anyway. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate you, sir. You got it.
Bye-bye.
You got it. Gun control is a firm grip on your firearm, Bushwhacker says. I love it. 100% right. Thank you, Zach. I did have a great weekend. Matt writes, Donald, if I gave you a list, he's talking about something else on there. It's funny, there's laws against shoplifting, but somehow people still get caught shoplifting. Yeah, I think I know a representative in Connecticut who, he's been running into a little bit of trouble. Speaking of which, I got to call the police department, see if we can get a list of that stuff. Anyway, all right. Nick, thank you. 100% correct statement on gun control. Hey, I know. We got to get to the WTIC newsroom. Let's get there now with John Silva. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Reese on the radio, making sense of the news. Yeah, even when it makes no sense at all. Now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Yeah, we'll get to your phone calls. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080. Let's do it. We got breaking. No, just news. A Manhattan federal judge has rejected a petition by the Trump administration on Monday to unseal the grand jury documents in the case against predator Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. The U.S. District Judge Paul Engelmeyer, who is a President Barack Obama appointee, concluded that the government failed to make a compelling case for disclosure of the grand jury testimony, which typically remains sealed. The government does not seek tailored disclosure of discrete items within the grand jury's record, Engelmeyer wrote in his opinion, nor does it seek leave to disseminate grand jury materials to a specified audience. It seeks disclosure to the public at large of the entire proceedings before the Maxwell grand jury, subject only to redaction aiming to protect privacy. So that's an Obama appointee, which I would imagine would have wanted those things released, but it doesn't make sense. But anyway, he says no. More on that in a little bit. Also in the news, in an effort to guide efforts to get children outside and experience nature, a town has adopted the Children Outdoor Bill of Rights. This is in Groton, Connecticut. Groton children are asked to participate in hikes and other stuff outdoors. They say, quote, we really want to make sure that we can reach across all kinds of boundaries that some families and children might have to make sure everybody gets to participate. The Bill of Rights, adopted last month by the town council, is an initiative to get outdoors. Yes, they wish to get kids outdoors. Let me read you some of the things that are in the Groton Kids Bill of Rights, which, by the way, they must not understand what Bill of Rights are. Bill of Rights are like protected laws for kids. That's what it should be, right? You know, it's like the right to free speech, the right to bear. That's what a Bill of Rights are, right? A right to assemble. No, this is what their Bill of Rights are. And if you didn't hear it, you need to go to the Groton News for it. Here they are, the Groton Outdoor Children's Bill of Rights. 1, ride a bike. 2, climb a tree. 3, grow a garden or plant a flower. 4, spend time in nature during the school day. 5, walk or bike to parks and open space. 6, follow a trail through the woods. 7, sorry, that one has got me bothered. Number 6, follow a trail through the woods. Don't do that, kids. I don't care if you don't have an hour, a minute of outdoor time. Do not spend it in the woods, okay? Just don't. Enjoy unstructured play outdoors. Okay, fine, cool. Number 8, play, paddle, swim, or sail in a clean ocean, river, and streams. Well, according to the DEEP and the EPA and the Army Corps of Engineers, there are no places where you can swim in the clean water. So that's it. Breathe clean air. Good luck. And 10, experience Groton's plants, animals, and habitats. What animals? What are we talking? Bears? Yes. They put it out there. I just read the news. I don't make it. Also in the news, President Donald Trump has reportedly moved a portrait of former President Barack Obama to a location in the White House where visitors are typically not allowed, according to CNN. The portrait is now hanging at the top of the grand staircase in the White House, a location that is generally inaccessible to visitors. Alongside those portraits are former Presidents George H.W. Bush and George W. Bush, according to CNN, which obtained a photo of Obama's portrait in a new location. It's the second time the portrait of Obama has been moved, with Trump having moved it in April in exchange of a photo showing the immediate aftermath of the July 2024 assassination attempt, where Trump survived, which I think is that's a picture of a lifetime, that photo. Forget about it. It's a Pulitzer Prize winner, in an era where Pulitzer Prize usually go to fake news. That photograph is epic and iconic. But I don't know what the outrage is. It's at the grand staircase. George W. Bush, Herbert Walker Bush, I think it's appropriate for them to be there. Now it's time for the stupidest thing I read today.
Yes, you do. Stupid as can be. This could very well be the stupidest person on the face of the earth.
I had another story I wanted to make a part of this, but I figured it was time to address a stupid story that people have been talking about all weekend. And I want to say this particularly to people on the left or so-called independents who keep crying about how we need more bipartisanship and people getting along, how to stop sort of tearing at one another about our politics. Well, last week, Greg Gutfeld of Fox News went on The Tonight Show, hosted by Jimmy Fallon, because these two gentlemen have been friends for a number of years. And after Greg Gutfeld was on the program, many people watched. In fact, it was a highly rated night of television for The Tonight Show because Greg Gutfeld was going to be there, and many people wanted to know what it was going to be like. Well, when it turned out to be a love fest of hugging and laughing and celebrating one another, and even injecting a little bit of politics when talking about the unpredictable nature of Donald Trump. It went off without a hitch, and people even left the Tonight Show studio saying, having never known who Greg Gutfeld was, enjoying his presence on there. Well, critics went online to rip it apart. Yeah, people, the same people who talk about the partisanship of our politics went online to berate it. During the 2016 election, one of the biggest promotional issues with Donald Trump's campaign came down to Jimmy Fallon treating Donald Trump like a human being on his show. Yeah, remember when Jimmy Fallon got all that? Well, here's what some of the people had to say. Like, can someone at NBC explain to me, like I'm for, because there is no reason why this would happen unless Fallon wants some of the MAGA viewers that Gutfeld has. If that's the case, say it. Open your mouth and say it. that you want the right-wing viewership of Gutfeld so that we can all stop pretending like you're some left-leaning host? Yeah, that's what they had to say. Another one wrote, well, Fallon's shtick on standing up to Trump lasted exactly 4 seconds. It seems the host is taking perpetual gambling addict Jay Leno's neutrality advice, which was why shoot for just half the audience all the time. And many people even got emotional, saying Greg Gutfeld has no respect for the late-night scene. He's a partisan hack who fancies himself a mischievous little boy because he likes to spout slurs and say mean things while he struggles to find a chair small enough for him. So these are the people who had their opinions about Greg Gutfeld and Jimmy Fallon actually having some rapport on The Tonight Show, trying to end the partisanship or the partisan nature of our politics, especially in the late-night wars, and people still didn't like it. So when these people talk about the partisan, oh, it's just too much partisan, they're liars, because they need to call out these liberal publications who want nothing more than beef and animus and hatred. Those are the people you're talking about. So please don't say you're talking about me, because you're not. Liberals are allowed on this program. They're allowed to chat in the chat room. They're allowed to pick up the phone and call, and I converse with them all the time. Even when they are bat nonsense crazy, I still talk to them. So spare me. And that's the stupidest thing I read today. And those are your headlines. Also, don't forget, we're going to talk in a little bit about Reese on the radio being at Chester Boat Basin and Selden Cove coming up on August 19th and 20th. You want to stick around so I can explain to you what's going on if you haven't heard already. Let's get to the phones. 860-522-WTIC. Speaking of liberals, here's one. Tim in Hamden, or, whatever. Hey, Tim, what's going on?
Whatever.
I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you because that gets under your belt all the time. Go ahead, man.
Well, it's quite all right. Let's take a step back. I'm just looking at the news reports. The crime in D.C. is actually down.
From what?
Across the board.
From what?
From last year.
Okay, from last year. Now stop. Now stop.
To you is
no. I don't want you to say another word. I don't want you to say another word. I want you to hear me out, folks. I want you to. I want to answer the point that you just made. So let's start here. Okay, it's down from last year. What were the pre-pandemic numbers 4 years ago? Were they below where they are now?
Look.
Yes or no, sir? Yes or no? You want to talk? Let's say. Okay.
I'm an idiot zombie that doesn't know a thing.
We're just going to put him on pause for a second. We'll put him on pause for a second so I can get this out. Okay. These people, these pundits who repeat the same stuff that they heard on the news or they Googled or somebody told them to repeat like a parakeet. It is the craziest nonsense in the world. First of all, D.C. is 63 square miles. 63. Okay? On average, it has well over 225 murders a year. On average. That is unheard of for a place that is that small. That is ridiculous. And because it's down 30% from last year, no one talks about what the pre-pandemic levels were. In 2019, there were 140 murders in the city. Those numbers have never climbed below 200 since post-pandemic. Never. And now people are bragging about the fact that it's not as high as its record levels. It's still high. They're also ignoring the fact that it's also known, verifiably true, because it was reported by the NBC affiliate in D.C., that one of the guys who was supposed to be the statistician on all the numbers was recently let go because he was lying about them. Just let go. Less than 10 days ago? Fired because he was lying about the numbers in D.C. And just to add insult to injury, because again, I anticipate this stuff. I'm a great talk show host, if I do say so myself. Here's MSNBC trying to make it about race, but listen to the mayor, who probably is much more credible than Tim in Hampton.
One of the things that We have seen over and over from the president, from his team, Stephen Miller saying it's like Baghdad in Ethiopia. They seem to hold their harshest criticism sometimes for cities that are majority black and brown. Do you see that, and what do you think that means?
Yeah, so now it's about the cities being black and brown. There's criticism because the cities are black and brown. Yeah, that's exactly right. The cities have to be black and brown. Baltimore, D.C., L.A., Chicago. Yeah, predominantly. You don't see a pattern, dum-dum? Don't see one? Now, they're trying to criticize Trump because he's going after black communities where black people are dying at record numbers. Muriel Bowser, black woman, mayor of D.C.
I think that I have been dealing kind of with this issue for a number of years. It's kind of easy fodder on the campaign trail. But now we're talking about governing, and my job is to focus on making sure our city is running well, and people enjoy a great quality of life. And I think we're doing a really good job. We do need the federal government's help, as I mentioned, because they have an outsized influence on our criminal justice system. We need more prosecutors. We need more judges. There are other ways to help. Even we want to rebuild our jail, and there are ways that the feds can help with that. But also just doing their part, cutting the grass, fixing the fountains, making sure that federal law enforcement is doing all of the policing that they can do. And I just have to say thank you to MPS, FBI, ATF, who've always worked cooperatively with us, and we expect that they will again.
Wow, that sounds like a harsh criticism there from Muriel Bowser. That sounds like a woman who rejects the help of the federal government and the president of the United States. A woman who seems to not even mention that her crime has gone down 30%. She seems to be welcoming federal help. Tim, let's try again. What say you, hundreds of miles away?
Well, first off, can I just tell the audience, this is such typical Reese. I let people come in and speak. I get one sentence.
You're speaking now, sir. Just go ahead and speak. You're speaking now.
Diatribe and stuff. So I wanted to know, I had a question as to if things were so, you compare them to the first Trump administration, why didn't he take over then? Things were so bad. I lived in the late 70s and the 80s on the Hill, Capitol Hill. I know what it's like in D.C. I know the fact.
Are you really asking the ridiculous question of why didn't he do it then? Let's talk about what he's doing now, unless you want us all to hop in your DeLorean.
Yeah, I want to talk about, it's easy to tell. It's easy to tell your audience because he had someone in his administration got involved with a horrible crime. And it was awful. It should never. What
are you talking about? Look, what crime? Wait. What crime did he get involved in?
With what? No, they were a victim of a crime. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. You're talking about the Doge employee? You think this is all predicated on the Doge employee?
It's obvious, he suddenly, like a 3-year-old, suddenly it come to his attention. Oh, there's crime in D.C. Yeah, absolutely. And it's very convenient because now we're going to talk about this. We're not going to talk about other issues.
What's the other issue we should be talking about?
So we can, stick with this and not talk about anything else.
Tim, what's the other thing we should talk about?
Oh, I'm not allowed to talk.
Say it.
Alone.
Say the thing. Say the thing, Tim. Say the thing.
I'll get banned.
No, you won't get banned. Say the thing.
I'll be hung up on.
Say the thing, Tim. What's the thing? I'm begging him to say the thing. I'm begging him to say the thing. You know what he's saying? Here's what he's saying.
Trying to bring crime down, a noble effort, but what do you make of the way this is being done?
Yeah, I just don't know that it's a noble effort in this instance because I don't believe that Donald Trump can be trusted to do this. It is disturbing to think about all of these federal agencies and law enforcement being deployed in this way against American citizens. They shouldn't be policing. That's not their job. Now, barring that, I also have to wonder, crime is a serious issue. Again, no matter who you are, you want to know that your community is safe. But how much of this is about grandstanding, is about Donald Trump just bashing cities, because this is another point of distraction for him with the Epstein files?
That's the thing. That's the thing. That's the thing he said he can't mention because he's going to get banned. So I'll mention it for him. The distraction is because Donald Trump is distracting from the Epstein files. But remember what I told you on, I don't know, was it July 17th? That was nonsense? Here's July 17th, Harry Enton, CNN.
Look, I think this one surprised me a bit because of all these complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files. You might think his approval ratings were going down, Republicans. If anything, they're going up. Republicans who approve of Trump, look at our CNN poll. The prior one, 86%. The one out this week, 88% were Republicans. How about Quinnipiac? The prior poll, 87% approve of Republicans. This week out, 90% were Republicans. If anything, Donald Trump's approval rating has gone up since this whole Epstein saga started. He is at the apex, or close there too, in terms of his popularity with Republican voters, Epstein files, complaints, or not.
You just proved that not everything online is real.
Yes,
in real life.
Oh, who knew that? Everything online is not real. I'll tell you who told you that. This guy. Let's go one step further. Just today, Epstein files, a month from that broadcast. Here we are. What is CNN saying about Epstein? This.
There are new numbers this morning showing something of a shift in how Americans are feeling about this. Harry Enton, here to help. What are you seeing in these numbers?
Yeah, I would say that this is, from at least a political point of view, quickly turning into a dud of a story. What am I talking about here?
Which is wild.
Which is wild.
This has been for 3 weeks.
Exactly. Take a look here. Google searches for Epstein down 89% versus just 3 weeks ago, falling through the floor. It is no longer the top term searched alongside Donald Trump's name. That's been trading off between Taros and Vladimir Putin, with obviously the meeting coming up later this week. But at this particular point, the American people's interest in this story, it's quickly becoming something of a nothing burger.
We'll be back. Stick around. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC NewsTalk 1080.
I'm Tom O'Hanlon, and you're listening to Reese on the radio on WTIC NewsTalk 1080.
Hey, Tom O'Hanlon's going to be on the show for my birthday. He's going to be filling in for Mark Christopher in the BPS Traffic Center, which is coming up very soon with traffic and weather, and, of course, your phone calls coming up. I just want to make sure that I reiterate this for those of you just joining. Of course, Tim and Hamden just called a while ago talking about, it's Donald Trump taking over D.C. is a distraction from the Epstein nonsense. There is no distraction. It's not a story. It's a non-story. And it's simple and plain. As I told you, the news media is here to tell you what the story is. Not that you have any concern about it. The news media puts out the story and says, you should be concerned about this, and then you pretend to be concerned about it. I'm sorry, and this is going to sound messed up. It sounds messed up, but it's not my fault. It's just the way that it is. You're dubbed into believing that because it was on the news, it's an issue. And I told you months ago it wasn't. It was manufactured nonsense. You couldn't just all of a sudden out of nowhere spring up and say that Epstein was a big deal when it wasn't for years, when it could have been used as the cudgel that would have ended Donald Trump. And now for everybody to miraculously stand up here and just say, well, I don't know why they didn't use it before. Just like the gerrymandering thing in Texas. Now it's the biggest issue in the world. While we know that this is happening everywhere, it's an open secret. And now everybody's pretending like it's a big deal. It's the end of democracy. The end of democracy. We're going to fight fire with fire. Governor Pritzker, why is Illinois the most gerrymandered state in the union? I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about Trump. I don't know what it is that you got as your marching orders, but we're here to talk about Trump. Stay on program. That's all you're hearing. It's nonsense. You get told what you're supposed to be outraged about. And some people do because they don't know what they're supposed to be outraged about. And they keep switching up. Today it's Epstein. The next week it's gerrymandering. What's up next? Who knows? Who knows? And here's CNN. And let me tell you this. I'm going to play this for you, but I'm going to tell you what the real dirty secret is about all of this. If you missed it, again, Mara Gay from MSNBC talking about the D.C. nonsense, right? That is the story. Trying to clean up the city. Oh, it's a distraction to Epstein. And who follows suit? Tim calls up and says the exact thing.
Trying to bring crime down, a noble effort, but what do you make of the way this is being done?
Yeah, I just don't know that it's a noble effort in this instance because I don't believe that Donald Trump can be trusted to do this. It is disturbing to think about all of these federal agencies and law enforcement being deployed in this way again.
You don't know if Donald Trump can be trusted to do this? Can I give you 2 words? Southern border.
American citizens, they shouldn't be policing. That's not their job. Now, barring that, I also have to wonder, crime is a serious issue. Again, no matter who you are, you want to know that your community is safe. But how much of this is about grandstanding, is about Donald Trump just bashing cities because this is another point of distraction for him with the Epstein files?
Yes, because that's what everybody cares about. Harry Enton?
Look, I think this one surprised me a bit because of all these complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files. You might think his approval ratings were going down, Republicans. If anything, they're going up.
Yeah, and then Donald in the chat room says, oh, you're only going to talk about what the Republicans are polling? Well, no, of course not. We tell the truth here.
Has it impacted, have you seen numbers that this has impacted Trump's popularity, favorability, anything?
No, not really. I mean, take a look here. Let's take a look at the overall numbers. Trump's approval rating in July of 2025, it was 45%. It's still well within that margin of error here at 44%. And you compare that to where he was in his first term at this point. He was at 37%. So he's 7 points higher, very much in a different political universe now, significantly higher in terms of his overall approval rating than he was at this point in his first term. And more than that, among Republicans, his approval rating is near a record high, hovering right at about that 90% mark. So no, he hasn't lost any of that base. And when it comes to that center of the electorate, he's basically holding on there. And his overall approval rating, 44%, is pretty gosh darn good for him considering where he was at this point in term number 1.
Yeah. And what about CNN's overall polling? They spoke to Democrats, they spoke to independents, and they spoke to conservatives. They actually counted the number of the people that they surveyed to ask them what was a priority to them. And Epstein was on the list. Here's Harry Enton again.
What do you think is behind it? Why there hasn't been more movement?
Yeah, why hasn't there been more movement? I think this is pretty simple. Take a look here. Nation's top issue is the Epstein case. This is the number of respondents. This isn't the percentage of respondents. This is the number of respondents. In our last CNN poll, look at this.
The number of people, right? Actual numbers of individual based upon their polling. So if they do polling of like 1,400, 1,600, 2,000 people, they asked, they counted the number of people who thought Epstein was at the top of the list.
0 respondents said that the Epstein case was the top issue. How about among independents? 0 independents said that. And among Republicans, and therefore overall, just a single one. So yes, there used to be a lot of interest in this story, but the bottom line is that even amongst those who had high interest in this story, it wasn't something that they thought was all that important. And as I said at the beginning, the interest in this story has fallen off the table.
Now, why did CNN do all of this? Why did they do all of this? Why did they do this particular report? Because CNN is moving on too. And they needed to give justification for there being no traction on it. So what they're cueing their audience by saying, see, this is what people are polling on the Epstein thing. 89% drop-off of interest into the story. We're going to move on now, okay? I don't want you guys to think that we're going soft on the president. But, you know, as you can see, you guys don't care, so we're going to move on. That's the whole reason why they're doing it. That's it. So when I told you what's the distraction, everything is a distraction. Everything is something else. It's always Donald Trump that's doing this and doing that. No, it's because you folks are like a bunch of jumping beans. You're all over the place and you have no direction. Donald Trump controls the narrative. He controls the messaging. He controls the news cycle, and everything he does is something to contend with when it comes to the major news media out there today. Donald Trump could stub his toe, and the news media would make an argument for coffee tables. That's how they operate. Now let's go to the phones. 860-522-WTIC. What's going on, Rudy?
Hey, I'm calling in about mental illness with liberals and Democrats, which you've been covering pretty well. But be very careful, Chester. I'm just telling you.
Okay.
There's not many of you down there.
Okay.
It's part of Connecticut.
Okay. Yeah, everybody told me that. You know what they used to say about that over in Chester? They didn't say that about. But when I first moved to Manchester, they were calling it Clanchester when I first moved there. And I went, really?
You don't want to go on the other side of the river. It gets even worse.
On the other side of Chester?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to give props to Trump, though. Because what I read was that in one of the back auxiliary stairwells that staff used to move up and down hallways is where they put the picture.
Oh, really? No, it's not there.
I want to combine Pritzker, King Charles. Did you hear what he just recently said?
No.
So last year, the BBC reported London, I remember this, gets a call for a rape in progress once an hour.
Damn.
And you can guess who the suspects are.
Yes, I do know there's a growing number of that, a growing number of calls.
So he came out this week and read the Quran in public and praised the Muslim contribution to the society of the UK.
Wow.
Mentally ill. Pritzker, mentally ill. My home state.
Whoa, hold on. Before you mention the Pritzker thing, J.B. Pritzker, you got to give J.B. Pritzker credit in the whole mentally ill thing. Did you hear what he is requiring for students from 3rd to 12th grade? Did you hear what he's mandating? That every child had a mental fitness test. The mental fitness evaluation.
And then you got Governor Newsom.
Yeah.
Demanding Trump put a stop to Texas redistricting. The problem here is Democrats have redistricted their states totally. You can't get elected in New England to Congress.
Indeed.
So they've run out of being able to redistrict Republicans out of office, and now it's on the radar. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, DeSantis fixed a bunch of gerrymandered districts from Jeb Bush and I forgot the Democrat he took over for from 99, 2000.
I know who you're talking about, and why do I?
The guy died in office.
Yes, he did. Yes, I can't remember his name either. Damn it.
He was actually from my city.
Okay.
And I can't remember his name. So, I mean, the mental illness on the left, I mean, they all got those eyes when you see them. The Adam. So, it's so appropriate that you put me on after Tim. And last week I misdiagnosed him with anencephaly. I don't know if you looked it up, but I took a lot of psychology and sociology in college. There's a thing called historic personality disorder.
Okay.
And it's a condition where you have unstable emotions, distorted self-image, and you have to be noticed. And his calls are always dramatic or inappropriate to get attention. You said what the murder rate was before the 2020 pandemic.
Exactly.
It was 146 or 26.
Yeah, it was 146 in 2019.
He asked you why Trump didn't do anything because it wasn't 300 murders like we're looking at today.
Exactly the point.
Murders per thousand per capita of a city of DC size is 300 times higher than the national average.
Exactly.
So I don't care if it dropped 50. It's still 150 higher than it's supposed to be.
Exactly. And that's the whole point that they're ignoring in that story. Just pointing out that it's lowered by 30%, but you still don't look at the fact that it's through the roof anyway.
So, I've been hearing Tim calling in for 12, 13 years to Marotti, to Vicevich, to Shattuck, to you, to Feinberg. Sometimes when there was 3 shows, he's just throwing stinky eggs into a room to get a negative attention response because he's depressed.
He may, you know what? He may like the attention and he likes the notoriety. I think you're right. I think there's a bit of notorious.
Ask him if the sky's blue, he'll say it's green.
I got to go, Rudy. As always, sir. Thank you. Yeah, I think that there's a true necessity in having that negative reaction, in sort of getting that back and forth. By the way, you guys want to laugh? Let me read this to you right now. You were all here weeks ago when I talked about Jeffrey Epstein, when I said there was no reason to talk about this story. The reason why I talked about it, you all know why. There were two guys in my chat room who always said, you don't want to talk about Epstein. You don't want to talk about Epstein. And then I talked about Epstein. Now that this new CNN thing comes out, let me read you what Donald just wrote. He says, Reese, I don't give 2 cents about Epstein's case. Let's talk about the rise in homelessness, hunger, unemployment. The list goes on and on. Now he has no interest. I'm going to go back and find Donald's old statements in my chat room because they're still there. He's probably running to delete them now. We'll be back. More news, more views. We got weather and traffic and the news coming up. Stand by. Go nowhere. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080. We're back, and let me see. Coming up, what do I have? I've got what's the name? Between rounds, we got that winner. Oh, and then we have to reveal exactly what's going on with the 19th of August. We will break that down as well, so make sure that you stand by for that. That is August 19th and 20th. What Reese on the Radio is going to be doing that you can all be a part of if you can. And so just stay tuned for that. We'll do that at the top of the hour. Let me get to Joe, who's calling. Hey, Wall Street Joe, what's going on, sir?
Yeah, hi. A few things I'd like to get across, but before I do, I've got the perfect place for that Obama portrait that has been relocated.
Where? Where do you got it?
And I'm half serious. You know the FBI secret burn room? They discovered all that documentation?
Yeah.
That Obama was behind?
Yeah.
Hang him up in the burn room, the secret burn room of all that documentation that he was right in the middle of. I think that'd be appropriate.
I think, look, if indeed it turns out to be what I think it's going to be, and that is a grand jury testimony of Barack Obama in Florida. And again, I don't expect any charges whatsoever. All I want is testimony where he has to tell the truth. If we can at least get that, and if it turns out that he is open and honest about what took place after the election, which, by the way, I didn't tell you this. We have proof that Barack Obama was letting the cat out of the bag before the true intelligence assessment ever came out. And I actually watched the video the other day. It was an interview he did with NPR where he actually gives the assessment of the CIA days before the CIA actually made its assessment. So he let the cat out of the bag that he had already put his thumb on the scale beforehand in his NPR interview. I got to get that audio. But yeah, you're right. If it turns out to be true, I think you kind of treat him like you would, Woodrow Wilson. You don't have his picture displayed anywhere where anyone can see it. You just do it. So, What was the other thing you wanted to get to?
Well, that was before the three things. Number one, our infamous senator never would be where he is today if it hadn't been for gerrymandering, redistricting here in Connecticut after the 2000 census.
Yep.
The district that the Teacher of the Year now holds in Congress, Nancy Johnson held that. It was a Republican district for decades. But after the 2000 census, the Democrats went to work, added some towns, subtracted some towns. And who do you get with about a 1% victory? New Congressman Chris Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
You can check that out. He would not be where he is. So if the Democrats start calling and criticizing Texas, well, they would never have Chris Murphy had they not done it in Connecticut.
That's why you don't hear a lot of rumbling here. I've only got 30 seconds. I'll let you get in one more.
Well, Ghislaine Maxwell up here in New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
I've spent a few weeks. I tried to get through to you a few weeks ago.
Well, you told me about that. You told me about going to her statement.
No, that was before it was put on the market for sale.
Oh.
It was put on the market for sale that very same week. I last called in, $2,495,000, and that's a steal. It's about 25 cents on the dollar for real, 156 acres on top of the mountain, a half-mile road to get to it, an old mansion off the road halfway in that was just used for storage.
Well, I got to get the weather and traffic, but you know what? It's almost like selling a haunted house. She wasn't going to get top dollar for that space anyway. Thank you, Joe. We got to take a break. Let's get to some weather and traffic with our good friends, Jason Caterina, who I think is back, and Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
It's Reese on the radio. And don't say we didn't warn you on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
Bagel Deli and Bakery. Between rounds.
And it's time to say congratulations to Carmela M. And Carmela lives in a place in Connecticut called Meriden. Yeah, she's in Meriden. Carmela is in Meriden, and she is our recipient of a dozen bagels a month for 6 months, courtesy of Between Rounds, the Bagel Bakery and Sandwich Cafe in in Vernon, Manchester, and South Windsor. If you would like an opportunity to win, you've got to go to reeseontheradio.com. That's REESE ontheradio.com. Fill out the form. You must live in the state of Connecticut, and you cannot have won within the last 6 months of this date. All right? And you can win. So your shot is very likely if you go to reeseontheradio.com. When we come back, I'm going to explain to you what Reese on the Radio is going to be doing come next week. Now, I am going to, let's just say, and I'll explain all of it because we got to get the weather and traffic in a second. I am going to show you how to advocate for what you need most, and that is information. And to get people to get you the information that you need. And come the 19th, I'm going to explain that to you right in front of you. I'm going to show you how to get it done right in front of you. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to join me. Those of you who are activists who want to do something positive and do it the right way, I'm going to give you an opportunity to do that. Okay? And I'll explain that when we get back. Also, don't forget, later on in the show, we'll explain why people are so outraged at the 63% approval rating of one Governor Ned Lamont. I'll explain to you why that is. And I did some research behind it. And you should not be surprised at that number. It does make sense for him to have that kind of approval rating. We'll break that down. Now let's get to another check of weather and traffic with Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. Did we find out that I wasn't even listening earlier? Is Jason Caterina back? Is he back at all, Mark Christopher? You didn't hear him,
We're
right?
going to find out in about a minute.
We'll find out in a minute.
Yeah,
Mark Christopher,
absolutely.
he's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
The NAACP calls him, whoa, I don't think I'm allowed to read this. It's Reese on the radio. Let's just say some people are not fans. On News Talk 1080 WTIC.
Oh, that was the best. Oh, thank you for catching me out there with that one. That was brilliant. God bless you. Roland, there's a reason why the guy's got an Emmy, for crying out loud, all right? Come on. You can never get rid of that, my friend. That one stays forever. No,
That's permanent?
That is permanent. You can't ever get rid of that. That one's perfect. Thank you. God, it couldn't be. It couldn't have been better. I'm so happy you read that. Anyway, more news and more views than you can shake a stick at. Yes, this is 100% true. I said fired. I was wrong. Let me correct that. A D.C. police commander is under investigation for allegedly making changes to crime statistics in his district, according to News Channel 4 in D.C. They say that a former commander in the 3rd District that patrols the Adams Morgan and Columbia Heights area was placed on leave with pay. And is told he was under investigation for questionable changes to crime data. Questionable changes to crime data. Again, listen, if you're doing a great job, you don't have to make any changes, right? You're making changes because obviously what you're doing is not your job. Now, before I get to the phones, let me read this. You have to be prepared for stuff like this. Because what I need people to do is to go about advocating for themselves in a meaningful and very deliberate way. It is not as simple as screaming and hollering and yelling at people. It is about gathering information and letting people walk into the brick wall you've set up for them by their own response. This from Connecticut Public Radio. Herbicides in Connecticut River will not pose a risk to swimmers, says U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is reassuring the public that chemicals they're adding to the Connecticut River to combat the invasive hydrilla plant will not pose a risk to swimmers. The Army Corps will add herbicides on August 19th and 20th to Chester Boat Basin and Selden Cove on those dates. Their goal is to get rid of hydrilla, a fast-growing plant that can harm wildlife and other plants by blocking light and raising oxygen levels. Hydrilla can also get stuck in boat propellers, making it hard for boats to access the river. Why is this important? Because yours truly will be there on the 19th. And I will be there with a camera. I will be there with a microphone. I will be there to film the efforts to put chemicals in the water. I will be asking questions about what they are using. I am also going to be filming those individuals and how they are protecting themselves. And if they show up with a hazmat suit, that will further make the claim or solidify our concerns. We will also watch them put this chemical in the water. Will they spray on top, or will they inject it into the water stream, which is what they're supposed to do? Did you know that, by the way? They're supposed to take those hoses and put them in the water where the hydrilla is and spray in the water. They are not to spray above the water. That's according to their own documents. And we will be there, those of you who join me, to film and to ask questions. We are going to ask them, when's the last time the Army Corps of Engineers has done a study on the herbicides that they're using? We're going to ask for them to name the herbicides. We're going to have them also explain to us why we shouldn't be concerned. We're going to ask to speak to supervisors. And we're also going to ask that the press be there as well, as these questions are answered. Because we believe that the press should be there while they're spraying these herbicides in the water. I will be there even if the news media decides to ignore it. Will you? This is going to take place at roughly about 9 o'clock in the morning. Of course, that'll be before the show. So I will be down there roughly at about 8, maybe even 7. But I'll be there. And I will have my camera rolling. I will also have my cell phone and my wife's cell phone recording anything and everything. And we will be taking what we find, and we will be forwarding that to DEEP. And we will be forwarding that to the EPA. And we'll also be forwarding it to the news media. And we'll see how they respond. They tell us there's nothing to be concerned about. They tell us that what they're doing is above board and by the book. Well, we're going to make sure of it. And again, you could join me. August 19th, we will be at the Chester Boat Basin and Selder Cove. And we're going to get them on camera as they spray the water. No one's there to stop them. I don't want anybody creating roadblocks for them. Allow them to do the work that they're doing. I know this sounds crazy, but why would we let them do it? No. We don't want to be a nuisance. We do not want to break the law. We want to ask questions. We want our questions answered. And we want to film them. And we want them on the record doing what they said they're going to do. We don't want to see anybody in any short sleeves. We don't see anybody wearing some rinky-dink mask and a pair of eye goggles. We want to see them in the full regalia that is approved by DEEP, the EPA, and all the environmentalists. These guys are supposed to be covered from head to toe. And if they're not, we're going to get them on camera doing just that or the opposite. Okay? So we're going to talk about it all week. I will remind you, if you wish to be there, you can join me. You guys know that I'll be there on the 17th. I'll be there all week, but we're going to go down there. When I found out they were doing this on the 20th, I said somebody must not have told them that I was going to be in town, but I will be there. They don't want to answer questions. The Army Corps of Engineers, they didn't even show up the last time that Blumenthal held a rally there or held some press conference there. They didn't even show up because they didn't want to answer any questions. Well, we understand that the Army Corps of Engineers is saying that they're going to be there to add herbicides. This is their efforts. So we're going to see whether or not the Army Corps of Engineers shows up or they're just farming it out to some organization, maybe the one that's up in Massachusetts that they've been using everywhere else. But we're going to go down there. We're going to see if we can get somebody to answer any questions, which they should. They should be able to answer simple questions. We'll see if we can get Webby out there as well. But if I were you, if you've got a camera or a cell phone, get down there and film it yourselves. See what's being done to your backyard. That's just my view. But you can join me if you want to. If you don't, that's fine. No offense. But when I say it, but I don't need you to do the job for me. I wouldn't ask of you what I wouldn't do myself. Never would I. I don't send people out and my minions do this, do that like Chris Murphy does. We need people screaming in the streets while he sits at home with an empty cupboard. That boy get dishes yet? Anyway, I'm not that guy. I'm not telling you to go out there and do my work. I'm going to be down there my damn self. So, Donald says, Reese, I pray for you. Well, I can always appreciate a prayer or two. I bet you won't be down there. Don't worry, I'll bring you a cup of that. I'll bring you a cup of water. See if you trust it then. See how well you trust your government. I'll go down there and I'll get a gallon of that water. I'll bring it up to the neighborhood and I'll ask you whether or not you trust them enough to drink it. I bet you look at me like I'm trying to harm you. Because I know you don't want to drink that water. I thought you were environmentalists. I thought all of you folks were. Climate change and climate justice and redistribution and all that other good stuff. What happened to you people? What happened? When we come back, I'll explain what happened to you people. Ned Lamont, 63% approval rating. It's not bull. It's real. It's real. You guys just missed it. Let's take Tom in Thomaston. Why not? Hey, Tom.
Hey, Reese. Yeah, remind us all. I'll try to get out there when that happens. It's interesting. Two quick things. Oh, man, I tried to get in Friday. You tried to tell that Jeff guy that it was irrelevant, that alleged crime of Sean
Well, no, he was. No, he did. He committed a crime back, I guess, 13 years ago. But, yes, I was trying to keep it in other words, I was keeping it relative to the issue of his altercation with Brian Fahey. But I think he was suggesting that I was keeping his criminality under wraps as if to protect him or shield him from something. But it was me who initiated that by reading the report saying that he was a convicted felon. So it didn't wash as far as I was concerned. Why bring it up if I was trying to protect him?
But it was both. You did bring it up, but you tried to tell him that even if it was true,
yeah,
because back then it was kind of alleged, it had no bearing on the incident.
Yeah,
that's when he couldn't get through his.
I know, and I know that, and I think, and Jeff's a good guy, so I don't want to cast any aspersions on him. I think where he was coming from was pure, but I thought that his concern was unfounded because, as I said, if I wanted to, like the suggestion that I was shielding him, to me made no sense, was because it was one of the things I highlighted to bring up. And I said, oh, they're calling him a convicted felon. Let's address that since that's what they're saying about him and give him an opportunity to. As a journalist, I'm supposed to. It's right there. So I wasn't, again,
Right,
if I was trying to shield it, I would have said, okay, let's not talk about that because I don't want to bring that up. I didn't. I brought it up.
And as a society, we're supposed to, praise people that have turned their lives around and now are on straight and narrow.
I think that's what Roseanne was bringing up as well. It was just like, it just didn't make any sense. But anyway, what was your other thing?
Real quick, have you ever heard the national anthem that Great TV and WTIC, the CBS affiliate in Connecticut, they do it every morning at around 4 o'clock. It's by a youth orchestra and a woman named Sydney Jacks. It is phenomenal.
I have heard it. In fact, it's so funny. The first time I heard it, it was the first time I'd ever filled in for Brian and Company. And I heard it one early morning. I was getting ready. It had to be the first time I had filled in for Brian and Company. I got in real early, and I heard it. You're absolutely right. It is phenomenal. People thought that the reason why I do the Star Spangled Banner in the beginning was because of it. But I'm like, no, I've been doing that for years in the beginning of my show. But I love the fact that broadcasts are starting with the Star Spangled Banner.
Yeah, and it's a youth orchestra, and she's maybe better than Whitney Houston's version.
Wow, okay. I would admit it's really, really good. It is.
Yeah. I think it's fantastic. She keeps it straight and just does a little bit of her own at the end of the song.
Gotcha.
Phenomenal. You look on YouTube if you haven't seen it. If you're not.
Yeah, everybody always puts a little flair on the Star Spangled Banner. I got to admit, her flair is almost unrecognizable. It's not in the sense where it's like it throws it completely off. But yeah, I do recognize she puts her own little signature on the end.
Yeah, it's the Whitney Houston disease. She did it just a little bit, and then everyone after her had to go more and more and more.
Hey, you know what? That's a hell of a compliment that people are putting their own inflection on it, inspired by Whitney Houston. Because, as you just said, I think that forever she will be the standard bearer in that song.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
And Ray Charles for
beautiful.
America. Phenomenal.
Yeah, without a doubt. Absolutely. Thank you, boss man. I appreciate you. Yeah, Ray Charles is America is that's I don't think you get better than that. That's still a great rendition of that song. All right, we'll get to some of the rest of your phone calls as well. Jeff says, none of the Corps of Engineer workers will be allowed to answer questions. That's okay. Remember, no is an answer, is a complete sentence. And I will definitely be seeing if they answer any questions. They should have a spokesperson down there. And if they don't, they should have a number of somebody that we can contact. Should they be able to operate with impunity? Nobody here should believe that. Or stand by. That's why I'm gonna be there. Is to say, okay, you're the Army Corps of Engineers. You do answer to the public. You are putting this herbicide in their water. Don't you think you should answer some questions about it? If they find that to be unreasonable, I will say, well, good. Give me the telephone number of somebody who thinks it is reasonable to ask. I have one ground rule, folks, and it's one that you should live by. Never expect a yes from a person who isn't qualified to give it. Let's get another check of weather and traffic. Bob Larson's in for Jason Caterina, and Mark Christopher is in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
Stay locked in. Reese on the Radio is on WTIC News Talk 1080.
I want to thank everybody for the concern about me going down there to on the 19th. Trust me, I've worked this out. There's a whole bunch of logistics stuff that I have to, and I appreciate those of you who are concerned. I was like, well, you can't go here, and you might not be able to go there. I'm just like, I got this covered. I promise you I will. I wouldn't be doing it if I was under any impression that I wouldn't be able to do the things that I need to do. So that I promise you I will. All right, and I, like I said, never ever put anybody else in any situation I wouldn't put myself in. And I ain't going down there to get arrested. I'm just going down there to go get answers. And I want people, the Army Corps of Engineers never shows up to talk to anyone. And when you ask anybody a question, no one wants to answer anything. Well, we're going to go down there as members of the press, and we're going to ask them. Look, as we've seen, members of the press, with the exception of a few, they went down there to rally support for the people who wish to poison the water. We're not going down there to do that. We're going down there to go get the questions that we want answered. And we will get them. And we'll also be able to film them doing what they're doing. And we'll make sure they're going to do it by the book, as they say they're going to do. When they say that people are going to be covered up, they should be covered up. I mean, we're talking that they should be in hazmat, according to what their own guidelines say. And if they're farming this work out, right? Because what did they tell us? They said the individuals are going to be doing this, are going to be following regulation. Well, we're going to have regulation there. We're going to point out that's not regulation. That person's wearing a short sleeve shirt. Why are they spraying above the water and not in it? And we'll have the documents there to show them. It says you're doing this, and you're not. So that's the role of this. And again, like, I know that usually the concern is and I've said this before, people think sometimes things are ineffective because they haven't been tried before. But then I look at things that have been tried, and I start doing my research about what things have gone ignored. And then I look at the stuff that I have done in the past to get attention, and I'm not doing it. It's not a stunt. Let me just put it that way. It's not a stunt. It's there to get answers. Some people do it as a stunt. You know, they're trying to raise alarms and go, woo, woo, look what I'm doing. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. The objective here is to be effective, incredibly effective, to the point where people start saying, okay, we got to start talking to these people. So that's what we're going to do. And like I said, we've got all week, this week and next, to talk about it, and we will. We'll get to all of that. Also, we got to talk about the approval rating of Governor Ned Lamont. People seem to be outraged that this guy has a 63% approval rating. And I'm here to tell you that that's not nonsense. It makes sense. It lets you know exactly where you are or the state of this state. And we're going to break it down. I'll talk to you about it when we get back. So don't go anywhere. Stay on the phones. We'll get to you as well. So stand by. Now another check of weather and traffic. Bob Larson is in for Jason Caterina. Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center.
It's Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
All right, we're back. If you haven't, go to reeseontheradio.com. That's REESE on the radio.com, so you can read my Substack article. Is one every Sunday. I try to do it every Sunday so that everybody has something to read Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, to then talk about on Monday. And this article this week was called Celebrating Hunger. Ned Lamont Self-Suffering with a 63% approval rating. And when I go to promote the Substack article, I will usually grab a pull quote and put that at the header. And a pull quote that I put up got some attention from people. And I don't know if they read the article. I hope they did, but it looked like the only thing they were interested in was this pull quote. And here it was. Lamont's approval rating, a cozy 63% as of July of 2025, landing him sixth amongst U.S. governors. 63%. And I go on to say that who are these people? Are these poll respondents brainwashed MSNBC watchers? Sure they are. Of course they are. But that's not the reason why he has a 63% approval rating. Ned Lamont will probably lose against Josh Elliott if there is a primary. There's strong likelihood that he will lose. And with that 63% approval rating, people will then ask the question, well, how did he lose? Because it isn't about anything real. It isn't. Not in the grand scheme of things. You see, people in Connecticut who approve of Ned Lamont approve of him blindly because why wouldn't you? It's not that they don't care about the growing number of homeless people in the state. It's not that they don't care about the growing number of people who can't feed themselves. It's not because they don't care about the lack of jobs and the amount of crime. It isn't. They all care about those things. But they care more about beating Republicans and conservatives. They hate them more. They are willing to risk their own lives. They are willing to risk the lives of those homeless people in the winter than to hold their governor, a Democrat, responsible. It's not that they don't care. It's that they care more about Lamont's reputation. They can do two things at once. They can be concerned, but they'll never let you know that. They will never cede that his governor, his tenure as governor of this state is awful, god-awful. They'll never cede that. It's about pride. They voted for this guy. And you're evil. They'll tell you all day, what would you do? Huh? What, you think we should have a Republican? Because God forbid, let that evil person run the state. When you hear these people talk about cults, that's what this is. You're witnessing that. When you turn around and you read that article, and you're like, nobody polled me. What? No one's going to poll a reasonable person here, and no reasonable person is going to say anything like Lamont's doing a great job looking at the state of our state and say that this is what we need more of. Of course not. They would sooner tell you in a heartbeat that he's not progressive enough. Josh Elliott? Huh? He's not taxing people enough. Josh Elliott? He's got the right idea, but he's just not willing to go far enough. But he's damn sure no Republican, because that's pure evil. So when you look at that polling data, shrug it off. Look, I'm sorry, your friends and neighbors who are going to more than likely give you Governor Elliott, without a doubt, they're going to do it. Those people are just going to continue to vote for the same things until we're talking about absolute ruin. Ruin in the state. And don't forget the rich and wealthy who can afford it, who don't care, the elites. They're going to continue to pay those taxes. They'll find other loopholes. They'll just find another way to finagle. But they're going to stay. They're not going anywhere. They're not going to create any more businesses. Don't go crazy. No. Those people will go to their lunches and their banquets, and they'll pat themselves on the back to the livelong day, talking about the new thing that they're doing to feed a hungry child, or the new thing that they're doing to house an illegal. That's what they'll do. They'll pat themselves on the back, create awards for themselves, have their fancy banquets. Chicken or fish, chicken or fish. But what are you going to do? Seriously, what are you going to do? Nothing? I say no. I say forget all that. I'm not going to do anything. I got to fight back. I'm just going to fight back. There are some people out there, they're not a part of the cult. They're not people who are okay with the 63% approval rating. Those people are going to stand up soon. You'll see. Let's go to the phones. Hey, Mary, how are you?
Hi, Reese. I'm here. How are you?
I'm good. What's going on?
I'm calling about DCLAT.
What do you got?
Thank you so much for what you're doing. This is very close to home for me.
Okay.
I was chemically injured twice in my life. And for them to say this is safe they don't know. And, okay, it's hard for me to gather my thoughts.
That's okay. Take your time. Nothing to be nervous about. Take a moment if you need.
I'm not nervous.
Oh,
I
okay.
have brain problems.
Oh,
as
okay.
a result of some of my chemical injuries.
Wow.
And I also fell on my head when I was 3 years old, but that's a different story.
Okay.
I think it affects the right side of my brain, which is, I think, where words come from.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can think a thought, but I can't express it well. So let me try to make it more clear. So typically substances like this, Dequat is the trade name, and almost like Kleenex is a name for tissue.
Right.
And if you had other places, chemical companies making it, they might call theirs something else.
Right.
But the active ingredient in Dequat, I think one of your callers said the other day, is the same as the active ingredient in Agent Orange, which was used in Vietnam. And I can't be certain. I don't have a way to fact check myself. I don't have a computer right now, and I can't look up things.
No, you were 100% right. That is the running theme.
Okay, but it seems to me that it was proven that Agent Orange caused cancer in young men who came back from that war and got cancer and died. And I'm not sure, but I was in a support group for people whose loved ones had Parkinson's disease, and I know there were several of them there whose husbands had been in Vietnam near Agent Orange, and they had Parkinson's. So I don't know if there's a connection, but in my mind there is.
I understand.
Okay. Now, one thing I will tell you in a nutshell, substances like this, there's an active ingredient. And then there are other ingredients called inert, in air quotes, because someone like me would say inert means not active. Well, of course, it's not going to do any harm because it's benign or whatever. But that's not really what that means. It only means that they are not the active ingredient. But you can have VOCs and other chemicals like xylene, toluene, trifluoroethane, a whole list of them. And it's a mix. It's a concoction. And this mix has never probably been used before because it's part of the people that are making Dequat.
And, it's a great point that you're making here, Mary, is this.
Okay.
And just not to cut you off, but I just want to
go ahead.
I want to point out where you're going with this. Because when we talked to Jeff Cordisco of C&D Underwater Maintenance, the one thing that he made clear of was the fact that all of this testing that the EPA had done back 30 years ago were all under controlled situations. They did not factor in weather, temperature, environment. Those things are done inside of a lab. So the point you're bringing out is you can put that in an environment where anything can happen. They're saying it's not going to be harmful to anyone because of this, that, and the third, but that's not how nature works. Nature changes every day. You can spray in the wrong place and you can spray at the wrong time. All you need is one person to, like a bird, a fish, or anyone like that, to actually take in or consume a lethal dose of it, and the next thing you know, that transfers into a human being, and that's not a controlled situation.
That's exactly it. And also, okay, bear with me. Children who might be swimming in these places are smaller physical size, and that makes them much more susceptible to any poisoning or toxic effects than a normal adult-sized person.
Correct.
Okay? Then you also have, so what you were talking about is synergy. So if you had 1 + 2 = 3, if you combine the things the wrong way or the wrong substances, they can add up to 50, 2 + 1 in that situation. So that's exactly right. I would want to know, where is the material safety data sheet for this substance? Is it out of China? And I'm sorry, but to me, this is a form of chemical warfare. If China's putting this out, not letting it in their own country, but spreading it around the world. Where have we heard that before?
Good point.
Okay.
Very good point.
I have to think this way because there's many people. I know many, many people through the last 30 years that I've been in contact with who have, maybe it wasn't caused by the same substance, but there's a myriad of illnesses. You've got the firefighters who are at ground zero.
Correct.
They're sick. Chemical Sensitivity Foundation, Allison Johnson in Maine, has papers on that. Different groups, and now a lot of them, they're not there anymore. I think their members are too sick to continue, but you have the Chemical Injury Information Network would have a monthly newsletter about chemical sensitivity, fibromyalgia, Gulf War syndrome. There was a whole gamut of illnesses.
You bring up another good point, Mary, and I'll tell you why. One of the things that I found out in my research when it came to DQAT was there are certain studies that they're not allowed to do because you know how some environmental studies can be done here and there, but the most important one is always about human consumption, right? And when you have an herbicide or a poison, you can't do like a human test on that because, again, we're talking about a fatality rate. What do we know about those who have been sickened by the use of DQAT? We had one case study that I watched where a guy inadvertently swallowed a bottle or like a sip of DQAT that someone put in a Gatorade bottle in Brazil.
Lord.
Yeah. And within 30 minutes, he had kidney failure. So that's about the only testing they could give. And that study was actually done in Florida. When I researched that was the only study that they had. So you can't do human testing on an herbicide because, in essence, you'd be paying somebody to die, right? So that would be like, like Fauci with the beagle testing, doing like these ungodly experiments on people. This would be Tuskegee, 2.0, but that's on steroids, I should say. But that's the reason why they haven't done that testing. So when you have these people saying that it's okay to humans, there's no studies on that prove that to be true.
That's right. And there's a lot of these substances that it will come out years later that people are getting sick, and then they'll withdraw it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the same as saying it's safe. It's not safe until you prove it unsafe.
That's right.
It should be you don't do it. When you have less toxic or least toxic, like the eco harvesting, like the carp, why don't you do that? And like you say, it's a money-making scheme. To me, it just feels like there's something off with this. And the one last thing I'll say, you're going to ask questions of the
Army Corps of
Engineers. Those people who are applying it, they're like exterminators, and they don't really know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I would go to the top. Well, I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm just saying, if it were me and if I had the resources, I've been wanting to make these calls. If I only knew, I would go to, is the Army Corps of Engineers under the jurisdiction of the United States Army, the national entity? I'll tell you, I made many, many calls to the EPA, and I would feel like I don't know what I'm talking about. I would get these heads of departments who are the nicest people. Not everyone there was receptive, and if they did, I would just thank them for their time and hang up. I didn't want to argue with them.
Right.
But, I had a lot of them would talk to me and bring it to my level or let me ask questions and say, call back. And one I did call back many times. He was the head of the department in North Carolina, one of the head researchers, and told me he was writing a letter for me. And if the EPA would not allow him to use their letterhead, he said, go to my library and look up American men of science, and he's in there. And looking at his credentials, I was like flabbergasted.
Well, Mary, I got it. Unfortunately, I got to go to the top of it. But no, I appreciate everything it is that you're doing, and thank you for the call in. And I know you don't call in often, but I appreciate you. Okay?
Okay.
You got it.
You too, Reese. Thank you so much.
No problem. All right, let's get another check of weather and traffic. I hate it after cut off, but, it's time allotted. Let's get to Jason Catarina. Bob Larson is in for Jason Catarina, and Mark Christopher is in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
The hour that packs a punch. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
All right, and we are back, and you know what time it is. It's Hollywood News. And in today's Hollywood News, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a story for you. Because I'm actually kind of close to this, weirdly enough. And I did not know that I could actually go and do this, but recently it was just announced it was the 40th anniversary of a movie that did actually pretty well in the box office back in the day, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. For those of you who did watch it, I didn't know this, but it debuted on August 9th, 1985. And the film went on to make $40 million. By today's standard, that would be $122 million. It was recently purchased by the Alamo in San Antonio, Texas. They purchased it at auction for $125,000. And now the Alamo is going to be displaying Pee Wee Herman's bicycle outside the, I guess as part of its venue or as part of its, I guess its museum. But yes, Pee Wee Herman's famous bike from the movie Pee Wee's Big Adventure is now there. I love the stories like this, to be honest with you, because again, I grew up with 80s films. I think I watched Pee Wee's Big Adventure once. I think.
Tell him Large Marge sent you.
Large Marge, that's right. That was the way I remember that. And what was the line when he tries to convince somebody on the phone that he's in Texas and he sings that line and everybody stops and goes, he's in the heart of Texas. That's the only thing I can remember from the movies. It's not a lot that I remember from Pee Wee's Big Adventure. You know, the whole I know you are, but what am I, and all that stuff. There are a few things.
That was a classic.
It is. Did you watch that? I didn't know it was a classic film. I know it is now.
Watched it 100 times.
If you watched it 100 times. I was not a Pee Wee Herman fan or his television show, which I understand a lot of people grew up on and loved and adored. The Secret Word. Lawrence Fishburne got his start. Well, didn't get his start there. Lawrence Fishburne was on the show. He got his start much earlier. But, yeah, he was on that program. Let's get to some weather and traffic. Bob Larson is in for Jason Catarina and Mark Christopher. He's in the BPS Traffic Center. The only thing I do remember from Pee Wee's Big Adventure, of course, was he really revolutionized the tequila song back in the days. He made it sort of mainstream popular back in the days, Mark Christopher. Do you remember that?
The song by the Champs?
Yeah, Tequila. That was his.
Oh, yeah.
That was the one that he kind of. I didn't even know that song until Pee Wee Herman. There it is. There was even a rap song.
Really?
Based upon do the Pee Wee Herman by a rapper named Joe Ski Love.
Wow.
Yep.
This song goes back to 1958.
Yep.
Some pretty cool saxophone on this.
Yeah, undeniable.
Right,
there you
Check
go.
It out. Yeah, good stuff, good stuff.
Oh, hold still. This is only going to hurt a little. It's Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
And we're back. Rama says, I love Pee Wee's Big Adventure. It started the magic that was Tim Burton. That's right. I did find out. That was one of the things I just learned about it, that Tim Burton did direct Pee Wee's Big Adventure. From a film student standpoint, it referenced every genre of film. That it was a remake of an old Italian film called The Bicycle Thief. The more you know. I did not know that. That's interesting. Let's get to the phones. We got plenty of people online. Let's go to my good paisan, Frank in Woodbridge. What's going on, sir?
You know, Pee Wee Herman is a perfect example. You could do a million things right in life, and unfortunately, I guess he got a little too excited one time.
in a small movie theater.
Yeah, small movie. I mean, I can see that. I'm sure he's not the only guy that did that. But, I mean, he got caught. I want to talk about the Washington crime problem. It's a great idea that Trump took over because the two things people should know about the Washington Police Department. We'd like to tell the truth. Number one, they're the worst department in the history of America when it comes to solving murders.
Absolutely right. 100% right.
And second, who runs that police department?
Aside from Mario Bowser?
Right. They're all black.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Right. So, I mean, you got to tell the truth. I mean, I told my black friends, just because you put a black man or a black woman in charge, that doesn't mean that person's going to solve the problem, especially when they're a Democrat. You see, to me, poverty can't be solved. It's too big of a business. Think about what would happen tomorrow morning if there was no poverty in America. We'd have an unemployment rate of 20%. Think about all the people that would be out of work. Think about it.
I think the interesting part about that argument that has been made, right, because Baltimore is another perfect example of this. What we were told post-civil rights era from the 70s, the 80s, and into the 90s, that what we needed was the system run by people who look like those in the communities. So Baltimore did it. They made sure the district attorney was black. They made sure that the police chief was black. They made sure that the mayor was black. Right? They made sure that everybody there was black and identified as such. And then what did we get? In all of the places where we made all of those changes, those sweeping changes, we made them on a appearance level, not on an ideological one. It turns out those places got worse because the only people it ended up benefiting, and that's the problem here. New York is another example. You got Alvin Bragg and you got Eric Adams, both black, by the way. And you get what they ended up getting was a lenient criminal justice system that allowed the worst of the worst leniency, while everyone else who paid for that leniency in electing those people got hosed. And they don't seem to understand it.
January 4th, 1964 started the downfall of the black family, the war on poverty. 1980 started the downfall of the white family, white women going to college. These women are a disaster. They're useless to America. They're liberal.
Damn. What? Wait. They're not useless. Go ahead.
They're liberal, like Rudy said, which means they're mentally ill. They're not getting married. They're contributing nothing to society as far as the birth rate. And that leads me to my last point. Trump's going to bring all these manufacturing jobs home. Let's say he does. Who's going to fill them? We have no birth rate in this country. We can't fill the manufacturing jobs we have right now. 70,000 truck drivers.
That's a key point of all of that. That's right. Because even if we bring them all in, once everybody sort of like the old folks, die out, we don't have a replacement for those.
They're going to be filled by foreigners. That's who they're going to. Foreigners who are educated.
Without a doubt.
We don't have a birth rate in this country because of two reasons. One, the black woman having abortion, and the white woman being on the pill. That's the result of no birth rate. Those two disasters.
Also, don't forget climate change. Don't forget
climate. All three of them are an abomination, in my opinion.
Well, again, this is the constant theme that ends our very existence. But you know what? That's another time for another subject. But you bring up a very good point.
I did get some good news, though, before I go, though. I got 3 phone calls this afternoon from 3 young guys in college. They're at 3 different beaches, and the beaches are jammed with white women. They need to get some color in their skin. They're too white.
Goodbye.
They're walking around like a bottle of milk.
Get out of here. Knucklehead. Let's go. Dave is in Branford. Hello, Dave.
Yeah. How you doing, Reese? The nice lady was talking about the DQuat.
Mary.
The hour break. And I don't want to be a know-it-all, but she's a little bit wrong. She implied that the DQuat is like Agent Orange, from the Vietnam War, and it's toxic in that way. And I'm not here to apologize for the chemical manufacturers, but they really work very hard to get the toxic effects. The Agent Orange was chlorinated benzene rings, phenol actually, and it didn't degrade in the environment very well. And when you manufactured it, you generated very incredibly poisonous dioxin as an unavoidable byproduct to making that chemical. And so there was a lot of discussion. Was it dioxin that poisoned our soldiers and, the herbicide appliers, or was it the chemical itself that you were trying to manufacture?
But I understand.
So new DeQuat.
But let me just jump in a quick moment here. I thought that, and I'm almost positive of this because again I've done enough. There is dioxin in DeQuat. Am I wrong there?
Dioxin is an environmental contaminant that if you test, you'll find it everywhere.
Okay, all right.
Burning. Generally, when you manufacture it in the high temperature, high pressure reactors, you free radical chlorinate benzene rings.
Okay.
And that's a crapshoot. You get a whole spectrum of different stuff, and you only want one or two of isomers, the target ingredient. And so what do you do with it? That's when Hooker Chemical got in trouble up at Love Canal. When they cleaned out the reactors, they had all this black tarry goop left over at the bottom that was not the target chemical. And what do you do with it? It's totally useless.
Right.
It's full of chemicals. It won't break down. Anyway, the DeQuat has got bromine instead of chlorine, which is rather less reactive, so it's less toxic.
Mm-hmm.
There's only two bromines in the molecule. And instead of a benzene ring, which is hard for nature to crack, they put a nitrogen. There's two nitrogens in it to make it easier for nature to crack open the ring. So the point of this is not to apologize for the chemical companies,
right,
but they are trying to make it less toxic. And that was the lesson for the day. You can't just say all these chemicals. A lot of and also it's not as bioaccumulative in the body like the chlorinated stuff. There's like DDT. It's not that it was all that poisonous. It's that if you got dosed with it, you never got rid of it out of your body. It hung around in your fat forever.
But this DeQuat and the glyphosate, and that's the version that they're using here in Connecticut. That version of it does far worse than, because I understand that only breaks that. Okay, let me get this correct. From what I'm gathering, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, that what it does to the body, if inhaled or ingested, can cause organ failure. Yes?
It's a very strong irritant. It puts you into anaphylaxis. Anaphylaxis can cause organ failure,
okay,
which is almost an autoimmune reaction.
Right.
I'm not here to argue whether we should use it or not. I think generally the problem is there's so many synthetic chemicals that are in the soup that we live in every day that one more is nearly always a bad idea. And
gotcha.
So,
okay.
I think there are certain circumstances where it is the best choice. But I'd go back and I weighed in on it early because of the work that you've done on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Manual harvesting is probably the best way to do it. It may cost more. It may take more man hours. It may take years to get successful control. But at least people can swim in the water and they're not worried. You can sleep at night.
Yeah,
They
indeed.
say, oh, my God, they poisoned the lake last week and we swam in it? And that's not good for your health either.
Right.
Thanks for letting me get that over.
You got it. I appreciate you. Thank you, Dave.
Bye.
You got it. Let's go. Who else do I have here? I think we'll go to blah, 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 blah. Let's go to Jim in Willington. Hello, Jim.
Yes, sir. You mentioned Pee Wee Herman. He used to have a weekly show on.
I know, the Saturday mornings.
I'll tell you what, I used to get up. I used to watch that show because what you were hearing and seeing wasn't exactly what the message was. There was always two things going on there, and only one of them was what you were hearing and seeing. The double.
Did he do a lot of double entendre stuff?
Oh my gosh! I mean, with his eyes, with his expressions, especially when the certain characters would come on. I forgot who they all were, but
you know what? It's funny because I do remember that. I do remember that was sort of like an underlying theme with his show, that he secretly was talking to his adult audience. And now, to bolster what you're talking about, many people don't know this. Paul Reubens was very heavy in a culture that was quote-unquote pro-drug back in the days. He was even in a couple of Cheech and Chong films, if I remember.
Yeah, yes, he was. I did see. I saw a documentary on Cheech and Chong. Yes, Paul Reubens was. But like you said, he had another message going on for the adults, especially with the way he talked. Whenever those characters used to pop in and out, whenever he would walk through his Pee-wee's Playhouse set there, and whatever he was covering, talking about, Lawrence Fishburne, he had that buxom blonde on there.
Right.
There was somebody else. He had the clock. I forgot who they all were, but the bottom line is, after being out all night on Friday, watching that show on Saturday, I'll tell you what, you got a trip. You didn't have to worry about getting arrested for being on something. And I'll tell you, the other one was HR Puffin stuff, which was exactly the same. And
HR Puffin stuff is, some people say, a euphemism for marijuana smoking.
Yes, sir. Well, I was just going to say, Puff the Magic Dragon. I remember that song go back in the early '60s. But the bottom line was that HR Puffin stuff was way out there. Once you kind of figured out what was going on, and at that time with the marijuana culture the way it was, you know what the deal is.
Yeah, I know, but I'll tell you. See, it was all lost on me because again, I was naive to all of that. My level of naivete in that culture, I would have never guessed that. It was when I got much older that I was watching videos talking about how Pee Wee Herman was really secretly, although it was a children's show, there was always a wink, wink, and a nod to the older folks.
Yes. Listen, I'll end with this. What was going on in the 60s and the 70s is when I grow up. There was so much going on in this country with these shows. I'll tell you what, if All in the Family was on today, it wouldn't be on today. You'd have people jumping off of roofs because of the subject matter on All in the Family. But there was so much going on in this country. These shows were way over the top.
Oh, yeah.
And it was at a time when people could just listen to it, understand it, whatever.
You know what I have to do? You know what you just reminded me? You know what I have to do? Because the entire series of All in the Family is now on Prime. You know what I'm going to do? I got to actually get some clips from that where Archie is talking about issues that are relevant today. Because believe it or not, Norman Lear was ahead of his time. Some of the stuff that Archie talked about and argued for are still topics we discussed today. It's interesting.
Sir, yes, sir. And let me end with this. It's Archie Bunker. The guy was overall just an ignorant guy. He wasn't a mean guy.
Right.
He was just ignorant to what was going on around him, and he couldn't handle kind of what was going on around him as the world changed. When that show came out, as you know, it came out during a very turbulent time in this country.
It sure did.
So,
and again, that's what makes, listen, that's the important part about characters like Archie Bunker. It's, again, although they were trying to suggest that he was a guy who wasn't used to change and sort of how he was combating it. But when I watch it today, I revel in Archie's combat of the future because he's right. If we lose those things, we lose a lot of who we are as a people.
Yes, so you have to have a foundation, sir. You have to have a foundation, and from that, you can go off on your own opinions about everything else that's going on in the world.
Yeah.
But you still have to have a structural foundation. Complain about it all you want, but don't spend all day trying to rip it down.
Exactly.
That's all I got to say.
You got it, sir. Yeah, it's funny, people, they should start that hashtag campaign. Archie Bunker was right. They should totally do that. If you go back and you watch some of that stuff and listen to Archie blather on, you'd be surprised. My favorite one is when he does the bit about how to deal with your skyjackers there. Let's get weather and traffic. Bob Larson's in for Jason Caterina and Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. The skyjackers is that's what Archie used to call the airplane hijackers.
Skyjackers.
He said how you deal with the skyjackers there.
Didn't he call the phone the blower?
Yeah, the blower.
Because Edith, get out of the way. Get away from the phone. Get away from the phone. I still remember that all the time.
I love that show.
The great Carol O'Connor. From was he from Queens, New York, right?
Yes,
from
he was.
Neighborhood.
Archie
Queens.
was from Queens.
That's right.
The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed from WTIC News Talk 1080. Download the free Odyssey app, search WTIC News Talk 1080, and tap earlier today to get started.
We're back. It's Reese on the radio. Before we go to a break, I wanted to play this. This was, again, Archie Bunker, his editorial on gun control.
Good evening, everybody. This is Archie Bunker of 704 Hauser Street, veteran of the big war, speaking on behalf of Guns for Everybody. Now, question. What was the first thing that the communists done when they took over Russia? Answer, gun control. And there's a lot of people in this country who want to do the same thing to us here in a kind of conspiracy, see. You take your big international bankers. They want to, masticate the people of this here nation like puppets on a wing. And then when they get that done, turn us over to the commies.
Oh, Archie, I'm glad they put you on a stool. You look taller sitting down.
Now, I want to talk about another thing that's on everybody's mind today, and that's your stick-ups and your skyjackers, which, if that was up to me, I could end the skyjackers tomorrow.
You could?
All you got to do is arm all your passengers. And then he ain't got no more superiority there. He ain't going to dare to pull out no rod. And then your airlines, then they wouldn't have to chase the passengers on the ground no more. They just pass out the pistols at the beginning of the trip, and they pick them up again at the end.
Still think it's one of the greatest lines ever. But me personally, I just love the fact that he called them skyjackers, which is an appropriate name for them. Instead of hijackers, the skyjackers made sense to me. I just love that term. I don't know why it always sat with me, but I remember it like it was yesterday. I want to read a quick couple of comments. Susan said, I heard you talking about getting clips of All in the Family saying that Norman Lear was ahead of his time. I might have ranted in the room before about how it seems like Lear's progressive is a big cause of why we are where we are today, not that he was ahead of his time. Yeah, I mean, he was making... If Norman Lear had started his career today, Archie Bunker would have been a MAGA, right? He would have created a TV show about a lovable MAGA guy in the grand scheme of things. But that's all I'm saying is, like, then the objective was to take somebody who was a conservative and to sort of make fun of people who were on a considerable size, you know, the lovable bigot, the conservative blowhard. But when you look at it, as you get older, you know, people forget about this. And it's one of the reasons why it was a very pinnacle part of the All in the Family lore, was when Archie was introduced to Sherman Hemsley's version of George Jefferson. And it was in that part, watching the two of those men go back and forth, who hated each other because of their skin color, but found common ground. One of my favorite episodes was the introduction of Jenny's parents. You know, George Jefferson's son Lionel and Jenny were engaged, and George Jefferson was first meeting Tom Willis, and they were played by different actors than the ones who went on in the series. But that episode, to see George and Archie at the end agreeing that times had changed so much against what they were used to, was a very, very poignant moment. And you could go back and watch that and go, yeah, weirdly enough, Archie was right. Whether you like it or not, he just was. Let's get another check of our weather and traffic. Bob Larson's in for Jason Caterina. Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
What's up, everybody? You know who it is.
You know who it is.
You know who it is. It's Reese on the radio. Frederick Douglass of the 21st century.
It's WTIC News Talk 1080.
We'll end with your phone calls today. Again, I could just pick these out randomly. They're so easy. Archie Bunker was right. Here's another one, just because. And I'm telling you, if you have Amazon, right, if you have Prime, go and watch them. You will find something in there to just go, weird. This is another one. I love this one. This is talking about sacrifice and Democrats.
Well, the Democrats' way of running this country is to go tell us all how we ought to make sacrifices. God, they're great on that stuff. But they're all going to have us over the hill to the poorhouse. We ain't going to be able to drive over there because we ain't got no gas, so we're going to have to walk it.
Oh, the Reader's Digest says walking is very good for you.
Oh, ain't that lovely? The Reader's Digest can always put a little joy into poverty. Listen, my whole point is this whole thing with the energy and everything. This is all a conspiracy. You know that it's a conspiracy there. Listen, For years, all our lives, they've been telling us to go out and buy stuff that use energy. You know, all electrical stuff. They got electric toasters, electric ovens, electric stove, electric stereo, electric TV, electric race, electric hair blower, electric knives, electric every damn thing. Not to mention the cars. And now, after all the big corporations there make the billions and billions of dollars worth of profits, signals, wham, they're changed. And after telling us for years that we can't live without this junk, now they tell us that we gotta live without it. The country is going straight into the dumper.
Tell me he's wrong. Tell me he's wrong. I think everything that was written about it, say what you want about Norman Lear. There were little nuggets in there that just kind of make you go, yeah, man. Yeah. So, anyway, I digress. Let me get back to everybody. 860-522-WTIC. Let's go to James. How are we doing, sir?
Hey, my brother from another mother. How are you?
I'm good, sir.
I always say from another mother, but you're still my brother.
What's going on, sir?
Oh, yeah. I apologize for the racist jokes that I said the other day.
Oh, stop it. Don't there's nothing to it. I'm not even going to allow you to apologize, James. Listen to me. Those jokes, the only thing I told you is that I couldn't let you say them because someone would be offended. And you know how they are. They're all sitting by with their pens and their pads and their recording device. I don't want to get you in trouble.
Yeah, but I know you were saving me and you were saving me, so therefore we both drowned.
Thank you, buddy. I'm going to grab some more and get up out of here, sir. Let me go to, let's go to Craig in the car. What's going on, sir?
You know, the brilliance of Norman Lear was that, yes, he made Archie racist to an extent, but he was no more racist than George Jefferson was.
Indeed. You're absolutely right.
He played both ends of the spectrum, and that episode that you referenced was it's got to be the funniest 30 minutes of TV I've ever seen.
It is.
But do you remember this? When Archie was stuck in the elevator with the pregnant woman, the Puerto Rican guy, and the black guy?
No, I missed that.
And the Puerto Rican guy says to him, he says, you know, the problem with people like you is you don't think I'm equal to you. And Archie says to him, equal to me? You're not even equal to him.
Wow. Archie was, again, it's so insane, all of this stuff that Norman Lear put together, what he was able to do as a producer and creator of all of this. People said that he revolutionized so much of the liberal orthodoxy. But there's a reason why I give Norman Lear credit. Again, we wouldn't have a backdrop to understand without guys like Archie, without George Jefferson. Because believe it or not, even though these guys were reprehensible, everyone remembers them because they were, I would have to say, bigger than life. If you think about it, there was something redeeming about them.
Well, and also at the time, everybody knew somebody like them.
Indeed.
That wasn't uncommon.
That's true.
You know, I mean, Norman Lear, you know, he Archie in real life was a left-wing liberal.
Oh, he was. Absolutely. Carol O'Connor.
And he made him conservative.
Yeah, Carol O'Connor.
Fun, I guess it was kind of to poke fun at conservatives, but you know what? He poked fun at liberals too. I mean, Meathead he didn't say the smartest crap in the world.
No, he did not. He was also the foil for a lot of his liberalism as well. I know a lot of people look at this. They look at Norman Lear and his legacy as this sort of like, again, this guy was like the pinnacle of liberalism. But I really don't see it that way because, again, in watching these episodes, he really did kind of give both sides of the argument. Even if it was a little more left-leaning, he really did give a fair amount of attention to the conservative side. And he didn't always make Archie look like the foil or the loser in an argument. He at least gave him something that made you kind of go, I see where this guy's coming from.
You can bust on people as long as there's some truth
and what you're saying.
That's right.
And I'll tell you who's figured that out in this era is Bill Maher.
Yeah, indeed. And like I said, I don't agree with him politically at all. But you know what? He is sort of noticing the absurd. And that means that at least, and again, which also shows that you can be a liberal and still point out the absurdity in your group, or what's absolutely insane.
Exactly. And you know what, Reese? Here's what it comes down to. I think for you and me and a lot of like-minded people, I don't want to have to pick my entertainment by your political leaning.
Indeed.
I don't want to do that. Not my music, not my movies. I tell you, one of the best movies I've seen this year is a kids movie called Boss Baby. And
it's actually pretty good.
It's animated. But the character that narrates the baby, who is an executive who never had a childhood, is Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, it's really funny.
I have to tell you, that movie is hilarious.
It is. It really is. I mean, I've watched it, and I still say to this day, I'm just like, goodness gracious. I'll tell you this. The character he played on 30 Rock was one of my favorite characters.
Yep. Glenn Ross?
Yes, indeed. Like I said, undeniably he's one of the greatest to do it. Politically, he is a complete knucklehead. I think I've made that argument over and over again. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. I'll tell you, I told you that one story. I tell it all the time. I was at some wine tasting at Wegmans. And this woman is being told by a couple about going to one of Donald Trump's vineyards in Virginia. And the woman just says, I just can't do it. I can't do it. Ethically, I can't go down there just because of what he stands for. And I just couldn't go there. And I put my hand on her shoulder and I said, ma'am, I can't stand Gwyneth Paltrow. I can't stand her politics. I think she is absolutely way out there bonkers crazy. But I love her in those Iron Man movies. I love her character in those movies. I can separate the two. Everybody can. Anybody can. Let's go to White Mike. What's going on, sir?
Hey, man, I got in late. Did you play your audience the AI video I sent you?
I did not. I'm saving it for tomorrow because I'm teasing it. And I'm teasing it today, and I'm going to air it tomorrow. It was an amazing audio. I will admit that. I was actually a little stunned.
I know. You said you were bugging, and I translated that from early hip-hop ease to mean you were tripped out.
Yes, I was. You not knowing what the term bugging meant? Yes, my wife and I listened to it, and we were kind of like tripping out to it. We're like, wow. Yeah, we'll play it tomorrow.
That thing is fantastic. I was talking to it real quick this weekend, and out of nowhere, my AI said, servers don't like to have tables full of black people because they don't tip.
Yes. And it's funny because that's, you know what? Unfortunately, more and more people are actually expressing that outright. At restaurants I've gone to, people are openly saying that. Waiters and waitresses alike are saying that outright. They've no longer hidden, sheltered themselves from saying that out loud.
Buddy, I had not breached this subject with her. I talked about other stuff. It pulled this out of thin air of its own volition.
That's insane. Look,
fell out.
I tell everybody, please tip your wait staff. Just do. For crying out loud, just do.
If you play around with this thing, you're going to get hooked like me. It is a fascinating experiment in teaching AI to shake off the shackles of its controllers.
It's funny because that's the thing that I'm investigating now. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow too. Thanks, boss man.
I called somebody an R-word, F-word for me the other day.
Okay, good. Thank you. Oh man, who else do I have to get in here? Let's take Evan. Let's go, Evan. How we doing, sir?
Hey, I'm good. How goes it?
Oh man, doing my best.
Nice. Well, I wish I got on before White Mike. I meant to call him out on something from a month ago. He literally said on the air that black people are inherently worse than white people because they have different DNA. And that's like the most...
That's not what he said. That is not what he said.
He said it's the difference in the DNA.
No. First of all, he did not. He was not talking about their DNA. That's not... And I knew that... Okay, first of all, the breakdown of what he said was, and again, what he was talking about culturally and in countries that are majority. He was talking about civilization versus, and again, you know what? I'm just going to play the audio where this is how all of this sort of started in the first place.
Yeah.
I'm going to play that tomorrow because you're the third person who said that what he was trying to articulate was only could be deemed as like racist. That's not where he comes from, but I get where you're coming from.
DNA twice if you listen to the stream.
Okay, I will definitely do that, and in fact, I'll just talk to him later on and just ask him exactly.
I appreciate that.
You got it. Anyway, what was the other thing you wanted to call about?
Well, the other thing, I might lose you in a dead zone up here in Barkhamsted, but so I find it hilarious when people freak out about taking down Confederate statues, and I always wonder, like, what's the actual reason they're upset about it?
Ooh, that's such a great question. Okay. I would say, what's the relevance of removing the statue? Like, why is that important to remove it?
Oh, because you don't celebrate, traitors that went against their country.
You don't celebrate people who are enemies of their country.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we do have some people who were enemies of their country who still remain on certain monuments and no one would ever think about touching. We have the Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah, well, hey, if they were traitors to the country, let's take them down.
Woodrow Wilson, would you consider Woodrow Wilson a traitor to the country?
Don't know enough about him.
Okay. All right. Once you did, and once you did, you'll recognize why I'm suggesting it. So
sure.
What I'm saying is, and I think the reason why people are pushing back on it has more to do with the selective nature of removing statues. And here's the biggest part about it. I would say if the Democrat Party wants to remove Democrat icons, then they should change their name. And again, this should be across the board because removing Andrew Jackson, pretty much the father of the Democrat Party, if you don't want to be a part of Andrew Jackson, change the party name. Don't be Democrats anymore. You can't even put Andrew Jackson on your official website. You actually go from your inception and you jump all the way to John F. Kennedy as your history. It's like we're the oldest political group to ever in the United States, and you go from the beginning of your roots and you jump all over slavery and your fight for slavery in the Civil War, and you immediately go all the way to John F. Kennedy in the 1950s and 60s. So if you
I'm happy they woke up and changed.
No, they don't change. No, they never changed it. They say we're the oldest political party and then talk about John F. Kennedy. But they don't talk about anything else in their history.
I'm saying I'm happy they're no longer for slavery. I mean, most people aren't, but the ones who remain are people who are Republicans.
But that's my point. Like, if we have to get rid of everything, I want them to get rid of everything. I don't want anybody using a $20 bill, right? Stop using Democrats.
You and I agree, Reese. You and I totally agree. But the usual argument that they bring up is we don't want to remove history. And my point there is history is not taught through monuments. Monuments are to celebrate something that happened. It's the same thing as like our history includes 9/11, but we don't erect monuments of the people who flew the plane.
No offense, but we do. We have an entire square right near the new Freedom Tower that commemorates the lives of the people who died there. I mean, we have
no. But do we have a statue commemorating the people?
Oh, yeah, of course. No. That's
there's statues celebrating.
Totally agree with that. But then again, you have to also think about. Look, the people who want to take down the statues are the same people who erected them. That's the argument that I'm making. Is that the people who are trying?
I agree with you. I agree with you, and I want to tell people like the actual history isn't the statues were put up after the Civil War. The statues were put up in the 20s and 30s after the
agreed.
Jim Crow laws.
100% agreed. I got to get out of here. Thank you, Evan. As I always say, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your minds. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. Me, I'm Reese on the radio. You have a good night, pleasant tomorrow. We'll see you here tomorrow. Bob Larson, he's in for Jason Caterino. Mark Christopher, he's getting you home. Good night, Mark.
Hey, good night, Reese. We'll see you tomorrow. If you're westbound 84 coming into Hartford, delays just after 56 Governor Street.
All righty then.
All right,
to,
sir.
47
As Jim Carrey would say.
The right lane gets
See you
by
mañana.
47
And by the way, that bit was
tunnel.
perfect.
If you are
Oh,
traveling,
my God.
That drop, that came out good.
slow down, getting by 48.
So good. I loved every bit of it.
I-91 got some slow
Thank
traffic.
you, man.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. See you
After that,
mañana.
just a little.
Yes, sir.
19 down to 17. Northbound 91 to Good Ride. Cromwell through downtown up into Windsor. 291 384. That's looking good east of the river. 2 westbound slowing.
All right, everybody. Oldest, but ignores pre-Civil War today. Republicans don't want slavery. Democrats are still looking for the underclass via illegal immigration. Ask Krug. Agreed. Yeah, Lori, I mean, the Woodrow Wilson argument is, again, it's the point that I've always made over and over again, is that the same people who want to take down the statues are the ones who erected them. And at the same time, the only thing that they're doing, it wasn't about getting rid of history as far as anyone was concerned. The reason why I wanted those statues up is because I wanted people to remember who were the ones who fought for slavery in this country and to never forget it. Democrats wanted to get rid of them because they wanted to whitewash their own history. See, we're against that stuff. We're knowing damn well they were not truly against it because they never changed the Woodrow Wilson Bridge in Washington, D.C. Still there. We should have been renaming it. But notice no one asked for it. No one's ever asked for it. All right, so I always say these people don't know what they're talking about because, again, did they ever? His name is all over Virginia. Very true. Very true. All right, folks, we got to get up out of here. I love you. We'll see you mañana, and I'll keep more details or keep more information, give that to you as we move closer and closer to me getting to Connecticut. So stand by. You guys be good, stay well, and be good to each other. Bye.